Race fans, the 100% Cup Series welcomes you for the first time to Worldwide Technology Raceway, or as you may know it, Gateway. This unique track opened in 1967 as a drag strip. The oval opened in 1995, but it took all the way till 2022 for a NASCAR Cup car to touch asphalt here, and it's going to be a fun race. I'm Andre Graham Bush, joined alongside Corey Silva and, of course, Carlos Costa, pushing the buttons, bringing all the action to your TVs and computers. We got some race data up on the screen, temperature, all that good stuff you may want to take into consideration for the race. Corey, good to have you tonight again, and what do you think about this track? I mean, going into this race, I feel like some drivers were dreading it, some drivers were really looking forward to it. Where do you stand?
Yeah, good to be here with you guys on 3 Wide, and yeah, this is going to be very akin to a road course, in my opinion, Andre. We hear a lot about that at Pocono with shifting and different corners and such, but we've seen examples of guys downshifting even 2 times entering turn 1, guys downshifting in 3 and 4, maybe not downshifting. So there's going to be a lot of work put in for these drivers, much different than your standard oval that they're used to.
Not to mention, it's just a track layout that a lot of these guys are not familiar with. The NASCAR Cup Series coming here for the first time, and the 100% Cup Series emulating their schedule. These guys not too familiar. I know a few had to buy the track prior to this. The track not a complete stranger to NASCAR, though. We did used to race the old Busch Series here as well. There was some pretty iconic moments between Carl Edwards and Brad Keselowski and a few other things that happened here at Gateway. So fans at home may know it, but the drivers maybe a little bit behind. And it's going to be a learning curve for sure. I know I've been talking to Bryson Ixenbaugh and Cameron Stone a lot this week as they've been practicing and figuring things out. And I was telling you a little bit before the broadcast there, Corey, these guys have almost the exact opposite approach when it comes to shifting, like you were talking about. Bryson Ixenbaugh was saying that he only shifts. I can't remember who was doing what, but the moral of the story is they were doing the opposite thing, whereas one of those drivers is shifting at the beginning of their run because that's when they feel it's beneficial. And one driver only starts shifting once the tires wear and the grip starts to fade. And that could be a difference of setup. Maybe the car likes the shifting once those tires are gone on a certain setup. Maybe it's just a difference in driving style or personal preference. I don't know. But you pointed out as well, it's not just that we're seeing with shifting. Some of these guys are just straight up staying in 4th gear and never touching 5th, whereas some of these guys are getting up to 5th on the straightaways. So it's going to be hard to figure out who's doing what, but I think when we watch the leaders, we'll see what works for sure. And it's going to be interesting because these cars, Corey, they don't like to be underdriven, especially on a flat track like this. I mean, it's not entirely flat. There's a little bit of banking, but when you downshift, you have to be extremely cautious as to the timing of that, because if you downshift too early, you could easily get that car unsettled and find yourself sliding up to that outside wall.
Yeah, it's exactly the case. Very much the timing and the shifting can definitely, lead to different tire wear levels, whether you're driving in too deep, whether you're lighting up the rears with, some more RPMs on the downshifts, but definitely something to look forward to here. And we've heard a lot in the real world, Andre, about the aero here at Gateway, where this diffuser that we have on the next gen car, it struggles to create that downforce at these flat tracks with the lower cornering speed. So not too sure how the aero wake and aero push will come in, how that leads to passing. So that will be a dynamic for us to watch tonight. Again, as we're going down from about $150 at the end of the straights, maybe to about 100 miles an hour into these corners. So that diffuser is not really making that downforce, and that can definitely lead to some handling issues.
Absolutely, and a lot of these guys have been practicing either on their own or just with a select few teammates. Not many of these drivers have been running in big open races. The Division 2 race here last night only had 9 entries, so I think a lot of these guys have probably yet to race this track in a pack, and you know as well as I do how much that can affect the aero, so just another wrench thrown into these guys' race, and something they're going to have to figure out, because I would imagine being in a pack is going to be night and day difference from being on your own.
Yeah, most certainly going to be the case, and we'll find that out as we have about 28, 29, 30 cars, something on those lines here. But Andre, we are ticking down here at the end of our warm-up, and we're getting ready for some racing tonight.
Yes, sir. The checkered flag flies for practice, so we are done with that. These guys are going to get gridded up for the race, and in the meantime, we're going to try and pull up our starting grid for the night. Of course, the 100% Cup Series does qualify prior to the race. They have a qualifying session up all week leading up to the event, so the drivers can kind of pick and choose when they qualify. On the pole, Jonathan Delaney, I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. Robert Anderson, P2. starting right on his outside. Ralph Hutchison, Lucas Hoytsma, 3 and 4. Newcomer to the league, newcomer to stock car racing in general, Alex Van de Sant, the IROC champion from last offseason, is starting 5th alongside Alex Murray in 6th. Bryson Nixonbaugh missed last week, comes back in style this week in P7 alongside Jason Baker in 8th. Brandon Pierce, Jason Taylor, 9 and 10. Hand it off to you for 11 through 20, Corey.
Yep, Mason Lowry in 11th, Cam Stone in that 12th spot, 13th, Sean O'Brien. We have Matt Long in the 14th spot, Ryan Ducombe in the 99 ride. He's going to be rolling off in the 15th spot, Chad Sanner in 16th. Our Bristol Dirt winner, RJ Root, he's going to be in 17th, followed by Patrick Mouchet, Tanner Marty, and Blake Giglio, our top 20.
And looking back from them, we've got Chad Edwards and Tyler Pinsino, Cody Berg, P23, and Dalton Mobley, P24. And a little bit further back, in 25th, is going to be Randy Drumhiller out of Illinois and Alex Princeton, P26. Jeremy Miller, Josh Ward, 27 and 28 respectively. Kevin Steele, coming from the back, taking a provisional this week, P29. Another driver taking a provisional, Adam Benefiel in that 83 machine. And I believe that is going to be the entire grid where they will be rolling out for tonight's event. So, where your favorite driver is starting. I'm gonna have to bring up the question early, Corey. Who's your early pick?
Well, kind of hard when John Delaney's on the pole, and we know the success he's had this season. It's hard to not pick him, but for the sake of just being a little different, I'm gonna say Ralph Hutchison gets that goose egg out of the win column and picks it up here tonight.
I'm gonna go with Alex Van de Sant. He was really solid in IROC. Of course, walked away with the championship. Decided a couple weeks ago, hey, I want to go stock car racing, and the 100% Cup Series welcomed him with open arms. And to qualify so well, I mean, up into 5th place, and to run so well in practice, I think the more this race goes on, the more he's going to learn. So pace car pulls off, and the field, how many times am I going to say this? The field is in the hands of John Delaney. That's a sentence that's probably been said more than anything else on a broadcast this year, and he is getting out to a substantial lead as Ralph Hutchison tries to make a move for second, going into turn 1. Remember, this is the tighter of the corners. A little bit more banking than 3 and 4, so you're going to see him kind of run the middle lane where that banking is kind of catching them. There's not quite as much banking down on that curb, so they're going to avoid that like the plague. The outside lane is really booking it as the 11 is going to slot in down low right in front of Alex Van de Sant. You've got the 07 machine going backwards as they're nearly 3 wide for a moment. Alex Murray in that 28's on the move.
Yeah, he is. See how it does work out as that number 96 definitely shut the door on Hoytsma, got to the top of the track. And Andre, we'll see it here entering turn number 1. The 96 is going to dive to the outside of the Kodak ride of who's that, the number 11 of Robert Anderson. They're not able to sustain. But very common issue here at Gateway is you'll get the position on somebody in turn 1, Andre. You might get to their inside, but then it's very hard to clear through 3 and 4. It's very easy to maintain that momentum on the outside. So it does lead to a lot of side-by-side racing, and some frustrated drivers try to clear to make these passes.
Yeah, and plus we are on fresh tires, and these guys are going to want to use those fresh tires while they can, because according to a few drivers that I've talked to this week, tire wear is probably the most substantial here that it'll be all year long. From what I understand, 15 to 20 laps into a run, you will be bleeding about 2 seconds per lap, which is really, really severe. These guys are going to want to use these fresh tires while they can. And in the meantime, I'm watching Jason Baker for just a moment because he really plunged it towards the bottom, got up on the curb in 3 and 4. And that's one thing I'm noticing, Corey. 1 and 2, they're running the middle. 3 and 4, they are flirting with disaster on that curb, trying to use it for rotation.
Yeah, and we'll see if the dynamic track physics of iRacing lead to some changes of the groove over the course of the evening, as the 51 of Jason Baker all the way up in the marbles there in turn 1 lost a few spots. But to the point of tires, we did get confirmation from our producer Carlos that there are 8 sets available for the race. So you start with the one that you have on now, and that leaves 7 sets in the pits. And I'm assuming, based on the real world statistics, our stages would be 45 and lap 140. So if that's the case, if you said 20 laps is really all you want to run on tires, you're going to have to do double that unless we have a caution on the set of tires. So you're going to really have to make them last, keep those rears happy, and that may affect how you do your shifting. As we said, you can get a lot of wheel spin. And I think I just got a correction on our stages. Okay, I did get confirmation. Carlos was confusing me in the background, but yeah, 45, 140, and 240. Again, that's emulating our real life.
And actually, I think with that tire limit, these drivers are going to be able to breathe a sigh of relief. I think it's the first race all year where I feel like 8 is more than enough. It is a pretty short event. It's about 300 miles or 480 something kilometers and 240 laps. So one of the shorter races of the year. And with a field this small, relatively small, we have 30 cars, but again, we are kind of used to running 40 cars. With the lighter field, cautions I think will be less abundant, which means longer green flag runs, less opportunities to have to come down and pit and make a decision on whether or not you want to use those tires. So really, I think tire strategy is going to be at a minimum here. It's just going to be a matter of being able to conserve the ones you have. That's what's going to be important, conservation.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that point. And yeah, it is a short race. I mean, we think of, you hear the 300 miler in the title, and I think the only one that comes to mind is Loudon. I know Phoenix is, I think, 312, but we do have these longer lap times. Loudon, you're at about 27, 28 seconds. Phoenix akin to that as well. On this slightly older pavement than we do have in the real world counterpart, we're already down to 35 seconds. You see in the real world they're at 32, 33. So even though this is a short race in terms of actual, miles and distance, time-wise, this is still going to be a pretty long race, about 2.5 hours of actual green flag racing if it indeed stays that way. So I think we have on screen Ralph Hutchison here in that number 54 pit boss machine. He's about 1.25 seconds behind our race leader, John Delaney. And it looks like on the stopwatch, Andre, Delaney still has about a 10th in the bucket on what Ralph is doing right now. So Delaney doing Delaney things, and whether that can sustain over the course of the run, that's what we have to stay tuned and find out.
Yeah, I'm really curious. Jonathan Delaney, he is very fast in the short runs. We've seen some tracks where he really nails a long run setup and he can actually maintain that speed through a full run. But there's been other times where it seems like, as far as a long green flag run is concerned, he's missed the mark and that car fades compared to the cars behind him. So we'll have to wait and see. But John right now, very strong, as he tends to be, especially these unfamiliar tracks. And that is one thing about John that I think is kind of underrated. We know he's a good driver, but I think what makes him so good is that he can come to a track like this that people don't really know like the back of their hand, a track that's going to be a complete learning experience from the ground up, and he can just kind of figure it out. He makes a few laps, he feels out the car, he says, okay, I know what this setup needs, I know what the car needs, and I know how to drive this track. And he also acts as a bit of a coach for, anybody that'll ask him. He drove for my team last year, and the drivers that were teammates with him that I had hired alongside him have told me to this very day, despite how they might feel about him on track or the rivalries they might have had on track, they said, you know what, the dude's a great teammate. He explains anything I asked, how to run the track, what I need to do to set up. So really good driver, acting as a bit of a coach to his team, I'm sure, as well, now for LDR. That's what makes him good, and that's going to be very important tonight at a track where these guys are just kind of putting the puzzle pieces together as they go on the fly. I also want to point out Alex Van de Sant started 5th, moved up to 4th, 2.8 seconds back. Of course, he was my pick for the race tonight, Corey, and he has really been hitting his marks to the point where I've really not seen a bobble out of him. But look at this, move for 2nd place. Hutchison falling back to Alex Murray momentarily. They're going to go side by side, and as they barrel into turn 1, will the bottom lane prevail? Yes, it will. Alex Murray takes P2, but look at this, Ralph gives him a bit of a bump, slides down low, tries to get to the quarter panel, but right there, Corey, you mentioned it, how the diffuser does not produce that downforce at low speed. Once he got on the brakes, that car got sideways on him. He was unable to defend that move.
Yeah, and especially with the banking difference, as you kind of alluded to in pre-race, Andre, you can use it both to your detriment and to your advantage, because if you do get loose off of if you get tight off corner number 2, you can actually drive down low and kind of like get the car right on that transition, and that will actually work as a de-wedge tool. It will get you a little bit loose, and it can help you finish that crossover. But I think Ralph Hutchison's just being patient, which is what he does. He knows if he doesn't have a car that can do certain things, that don't take advantage of it yet, and try to work on it on the pit stop, see how the track changes, weather changes, and if anybody else makes mistakes. That's what I think he needs to do in that 54 machine. But I do want to touch again on the point you had about Delaney, where a lot of drivers haven't come here. I actually heard Kyle Larson, they asked him, were you in the simulator? What did you do to prep for Gateway? He said absolutely nothing. And then what did he do in practice? Right on the top 5. So it's just that's a common nature that some drivers have that, it just takes 2 or 3 laps to figure something out, and after that point on, you're just fine tuning and just getting better and better and better as each lap ticks off.
Absolutely. I mean, especially in a series like this where we're going from track to track to track every single week, there's not really a moment to waste. You have to be able to figure these things out quickly, and if you can, it's a huge advantage as opposed to somebody who might need more time just to learn the track before they can even really start worrying about the setup. So it's definitely something that can make or break a driver in terms of adaptability. Again, sometimes though, you don't have to really adapt. I mean, for the longest time, the NASCAR schedule was more or less the same with just a few changes here or there. I would say from the late 90s up until a few years ago, we pretty much knew all the tracks on the schedule. We've been going to them for 2 decades or plus, and everybody just kind of knew what to expect. The Busch Series and Truck Series, they might have gone to some different locations like Montreal or Gateway or Iowa. But the Cup Series stayed pretty stagnant, and I think maybe adaptation was a skill that wasn't as important then as it is now that the schedule is completely turned on its head.
Yeah, particularly with a lot less practice, as we do have your boy Cameron Stone going into the 8th spot now, just passed by Jason Baker in the 51, so gaining some time there in the Coors Light machine. But yeah, definitely, we've had a lot of different tracks, and NASCAR is actively shuffling things up. I mean, we go to Road America now. We're coming here. We're experimenting with going into stadiums, and I wouldn't be surprised if the 2023 schedule shuffles things up, and hopefully iRacing will be quick on the cusp to get that to us. Nashville being a super speedway, the Fairgrounds is right around the corner. So as you said, adaptation is good for these drivers who, have run in the Xfinity / Nationwide / Busch series. That experience will definitely help them out if they do come into next gen. I think we do have a battle going on. Closing in on the end of the top 5, it looks like. Looks like 54 is coming into the clutches, rather the 96 is starting to close in on Hutchison, and right behind him is Lucas Hoytsma with Hixenbaugh right on his back bumper. Hixenbaugh might actually be able to do something. He's going to take a look, got a good run off of 4. He's going to show a look to the inside of that 07 Nitro Pepsi ride of Hoytsma. Hoytsma is just going to let him on go, and Hixenbaugh, obviously, we know he's a fast one week to week and gets himself into the top 5.
Yeah, Bryson made a pretty textbook move there on Lucas Hoytsma, and he is closing in now on Van de Sant and Hutchison. Talking to Bryson before the race throughout the week, he's been a little bit defeated sounding. I hate to say it. He really has not been fond of this car, and he's not been fond of some of the schedule changes that have been made, and he's kind of relegated himself. He said, if I get a win this year, I'll be happy. And that's coming from a guy who at one point had the most wins per season in the very first season, a guy who was a championship favorite. Now he's just kind of saying, well, if I can get a win, that'll be good. But that's not really what I'm seeing on track tonight. He is really on pace tonight. Some of the best
96 machine going for 3rd.
Outside of the leader. And as the 96 does make this move on Hutchison, that's actually going to open the door for Bryson even more. Bryson follows him in tow. That's going to put him up into P4. For a guy coming into this race without much confidence, Bryson is doing one heck of a job, but now can he get around Van de Sant right on the bumper going into 1? But we've seen the entry of the corner be the prime passing zone. If you can't get it done early on, throw a bit of a slide job, you're not going to make this pass. He does lay back a little bit on corner entry, closes back in the middle. It tells me Bryson's got a bit of a faster car that can lay up on entry and still close that gap back on exit.
Well, Andre, I'm actually kind of seeing the inexperience of Van de Sant right now in his stock car and oval racing experience, because a tactic in a stock cars don't like to be driven into the corner hard. It very seldom works out. It gives you that terrible corner exit and overheats the right front tire. And look at to see how hard, look at that time that the 96 gains on Hixenbaugh on entry, and then Hixenbaugh just eats it back up through the center and is getting those runs off, and that's definitely going to hurt the long run pace of the 96. It's a long enough race, though. I think he may be able to learn that and tweak his style in subsequent runs.
Slow in, fast out, a tactic that, like you said, a lot of drivers are fond of, and Bryson's going to use it right here to make this pass into 3rd. Van de Sant back to the bumper. I don't think he's going to be able to retaliate here, though. Not going to be able to try to make another pass. But you're right, driving it deep into the corners, some tracks with this next-gen car, it does work. It's not as detrimental as it used to be necessarily. Last week at Charlotte, we heard Adam Benefiel say that the LDR boys were driving it into the corner so deep that they gave Jesus a high five, whatever that means, Adam. So at some tracks it works, but here I think you're right, Corey. It's really killing Van de Sant's front tires. It's killing that long run pace, and he's gonna have to adapt.
Yeah, I think he will if he's, he said he's an IROC champion from other sanctions of the series, and obviously that's why he's in the top 5, and he'll definitely show that, as we do have our 3-wide multicam on screen right now. Looks like Sean O'Brien is looking to the inside of Mason Lowry. That's a battle for 14th and 15th. Ryan Ducombe hanging behind, and he's going to try to figure out who do I go with. There is a little bit of a draft here at Gateway with how long these straightaways are, and Ducombe's going to try to stay on the outside. I do think that's where you want to be if you're side by side, at least in 3 and 4. I think you do want to be on that outer groove. That does give you the ability to get off the corner here, off of 4, but O'Brien's going to make me a liar, and he's going to clear Lowry, and now Ducombe's going to have the opportunity to send it in turn number 1.
That was a great move by Sean O'Brien, and Ryan Ducombe getting real aggressive there, trying to get a bit of a side draft, shove him up the track a bit. Now he's going to migrate down to the bottom, try to complete this on exit. Not sure if he quite got clear there or not. Let's see.
He must have had a wiggle there off of 2 with how low as he got off of exit, which could have very easily been a wheel spin situation as we're 25 laps in. As we talked about the shifting points, how that affects your rear tires with the different RPMs and all that fun stuff. This is where those effects and all those different variables are going to start coming into play.
And I think you're absolutely correct. I've been watching these guys lap after lap, and it seems like they are getting less stable. Oh boy, yep, Mason Lowry goes for a bit of a ride there.
20 machine, Tanner Marty sideways off of 2. That's going to put our first yellow of the race. So Lowry is doing some agricultural work in the grass right now.
Trying to make life hard for the groundskeeper, but back on track now. I don't think Mason got any help in his spin. It might have just been an aero situation where Ducombe was right on that bumper and got him a little bit aero loose. As for the 20, I'm not entirely certain what got him.
We have our replay queued up right now. Let's see here, looks like tough call from that perspective. The 30, Jeremy Miller, who's in that very exotically colored 30 machine here tonight. Hard to see if he did make some contact, but whatever did happen, it did send a couple guys for a loop, and you can see there may have been some contact with Lowry and Ducombe. Again, super close calls. Could be aero, could be some netcode, could be some actual contact, but light damage, if any, for everybody involved. So they should be able to get some tires and keep chugging.
That's a really hard call to make. I can't quite tell if there was contact or not. I know with Mason there was no contact. I can confirm he just got a little aero loose, but as the field makes their way down pit road, seems like a few drivers have opted to stay out. Bryson, the first driver to come down pit road amongst the leaders, and bringing a whole lot of cars behind him. Our producer pointed out the stairs there. They're
not an animate object. Luckily.
Yes, there is no collision there. You can kind of no-clip through them. But that's going to be a terrifying sight coming down pit road, especially for the first time if you don't know whether or not they are a solid object. But it looks like Bryson got a good stop there. He's going to pull out right ahead of the 07. Lucas Hoytsma, the 11 behind them, and everybody's kind of sorting out where they should. But this is interesting, Corey. These drivers out front, I think they're going to be sitting ducks because we'd already dropped 2 seconds on lap times, and now staying out, that's going to be harsh.
Yeah, I mean, we're at 20 at the green flag, probably 15 laps to the stage, and even with the pace Delaney has, he can't make up 27 lap old tires. So now we talked earlier too about we think that this is a more than ample amount of tires to get through the race. I'd have to imagine that our top 7 drivers, Delaney, Murray, Van de Sant, Stone, Pierce, Giglio, and actually that's it. They must clearly think otherwise, and maybe that set of tires is more useful later in the race. But we're on one to go. Everyone's getting doubled up, and this has potential to be very exciting or very interesting. And when I say interesting in a very nervous way, I guess we'll have to find out.
I think, and I can't speak for the rest of the leaders, but I think in terms of John, he's got a bit of a safety net. He knows he's got what may be the fastest car on the track. definitely one of the fastest. And the stage is coming up. We're on lap 28, stage 1, lap 45, as he said. So that's not enough time for him to go a lap down, even if his tires hold him back that much. And even if he drops to the back of the field, they're not going to have time to come back around and put him a lap down. So worst case scenario, he reaches the stage, pits for fresh tires, comes back up to the front, and he's no worse for wear. And as a benefit of staying out, he's got that extra set of tires. Should things get a little crazy, should we have a lot of cautions, which I'm not personally predicting, but if it happens, he's got extra tires and these guys behind him don't. So that'll be fun to watch. But here we go. We're going to see exactly how it plays out. The pace car, man, oh man. iRacing's pace car never ceases to amaze me. That thing's got more downforce than a Formula One car. It makes that left-hand turn. And Jonathan Delaney, a little bit of wheel spin. He'll have that on these old tires. But even with the wheel spin, he's able to get about 3 car lengths on Alex Murray in the 28. Van de Sant down low of Cameron Stone. Can he hold this position, or is Cameron going to get him on the high side? Let's find out. Cameron rocketing out on that high side. A lot of momentum there. He is going to get clear into third.
Got to keep an eye on that 07. He's the first one on freshies, and Hoytsman's going to be blocked in by Stone on that outside lane. But is he going to use that grip and try to use that outside in 3 and 4? Don't see that move too often. Here he goes around the outside of Stone off of 4. That's going to put him in P3. Now it's only a matter of time before he goes and picks off the top 2, and we'll ultimately have to see how far those old tires fall back into the field before the stage break.
Matt Long, another driver on fresh tires. He's now alongside Cameron Stone, following Lucas Hoytsma through the field. These guys aggressively carving their way towards the front. Now for second place, Hoytsma is trying to get around Alex Murray. Going to make short work of it. Now there's only one more car to get around, Jonathan Delaney. With a 27-lap fresher tire advantage, I think he should be able to make this move. Coming out of turn 4, and he's going to get side by side. This should be effortless into 1. With that disparity in tires behind him. Matt Long moving up into third, possibly. Even with fresh tires, you got to be a little bit careful in turn 1 when you take the low line. You can see him getting a little bit sideways, bouncing around. There's some bumps down there. Don't want to get too in over your head. You want to be a little patient, but even so, made the pass, no problem. Now he's behind his teammate John Delaney, and the leader, Lucas Hoytsma, he's just trying to get to this stage win, trying to drive away from Matt Long if possible.
Saw some 3 wide there, a little bit further back. I think Stone was in the middle of a sandwich there. Dropped back to about the 10th spot as he's side by side with Ducom now. So some guys falling back. Looks like Hixenbaum on those fresh tires. He is getting by Delaney. So obviously those older tires not doing too well here. We have our strategy graphic on the screen here. You can kind of see the relation of pit stops and position changes and all that fun stuff. But I guess our $1 million question, Andre, I don't think we've talked about it. If we did, I forgot about it already, so I'll ask you again. What are these guys who pitted going to do on the stage? Are they going to pit again and burn the set of tires? Are they going to stay out and keep it and kind of lose the spots? This is where I kind of don't get the strategy on either side of the spectrum, really.
I would think they're going to have to. From 27 to 45, by the time they get to stage end and go green again on lap 47 or 48, they'll easily be a second and a half, maybe more, down on lap times. You're going to have to take tires. There's no way. So they are going to burn an extra set, and I think that was the plan all along. And they're just kind of banking on, well, there won't be too many yellow flags. I can get away with this. And I think those who did take tires did so under the hopes of maybe just getting more stage points if possible.
I guess something that I think I have for information is we don't really have I've never done a full distance race here. I've never done a cup race here at Gateway on my iRacing tenure, so I don't even know what the fuel load is. As we do have some 3 wide going on later in the field as Delaney is dropping like a rock.
In the wall.
Super slow, yeah, off down the backstretch there. I'm trying to see if there's any right front damage or how much there is. Wobbling on the entry of 3 there.
There's some damage on that machine. That hood's crinkled up quite a bit.
Going back here. Oh yeah, I went back on my personal replay. He had a big wiggle off of 2 and counter corrected, and the car bit to the right and hard into the fence. Now you know how the toe links are and stuff, and how suspension damages on these next gen machines. We'll see if that is indeed repairable, if it's even a problem at all. But interesting note too, Andre. This is a big note from an iRacing perspective. This is our last race on this current damage model. As of next week, tires will be flying, fenders will be flaring and flapping in the wind. Complete new ball game with crashes next week. That'll be exciting race to watch.
Oh yeah, that'll be a complete change of pace in terms of damage. Speaking of a change in pace, I'm really not too confident in this six machine and the damage he has. He's actually falling back to other drivers who stayed out as well. Van de Sant now closing the gap as he gives a shot to Kevin Steele. Kevin is on fresh tires, I believe. He's going to work his way around Delaney, but look at this. Van de Sant consistently lapping faster than the six car on the same tires. That damage is holding back Delaney.
Yeah, and how much is going to be repairable in the pits? Of course, iRacing does give you a a timer to let you know what your damage is. I'd probably say he probably has at least a minute's worth of damage to repair, but we'll try to see what he does choose to repair in the pits. Looks like there's what we have on screen right now for you. Looks like Cam Stone on the outside right now is losing a spot to Princeton, I believe. 57 starting to drop back on those older tires, back to the 16th spot. Hoytsma up by a second over Matt Long, so Hoytsma just, he's probably going to get this stage barring anything going on. But I do have a random question. We do have, Hoytsma has a Nitro Pepsi. What is Nitro Pepsi?
Honestly, I have no clue. My friends keep asking me if I've tried one yet, and I still don't know what it is.
My mic is hot.
I had Nitro Coffee. But I've
Nitro
not had
Pepsi
Nitro
is a malt based Pepsi. It's more of a European style of a soft drink, and a lot of people think it's flat because it's got less carbonation, but it's actually supposed to be that way. It's hard to describe, but I would definitely recommend you try it.
It's about $8 for a 4-pack, at least in my parts here in the Northeast. So it better be good, but I'll add it to my list. So. See, that's called sponsorship right there. I see a sponsor on a car, and I'm going to go out and buy it. See, NASCAR sponsorship is real. It does work.
Yeah, we were one of those families that we only shopped at Home Depot because of Tony Stewart, and we avoided Lowe's like the plague.
I had problems with that as a 9-year-old kid because I didn't know what DuPont was, but I wanted to support it so bad.
You're like, but Mom, we need to repaint these walls, don't you see?
3 wide going on here at the end of the top 10. 51 machine of Baker losing some spots. Hutchison not having the run that I was hoping he would have. He is on fresh tires, but he is in that 12th spot, losing one to Josh Ward, or potentially Ward going all the way on the flat in that 67 machine. Oh no, 51 with a big wiggle. That's that turn 2 curse we've seen multiple times, but luckily he was able to keep it on the black stuff and will keep himself going straight.
And this track, despite its design, there is quite a bit of runoff on the back stretch. The front stretch, if you make a mistake, there's really nowhere to go. But the back stretch, you've got a lot of pavement. It's a very wide straightaway. You've even got some grass beneath that to kind of fall back on. So I think you're going to see a few moments like that where drivers do get loose, but they're going to have a chance to save it. And Jason Baker did a great job of that. I mean, that thing was so sideways. I was like, there's no way he's bringing that thing back around. But he saved it. It's still on track. And one of the nice things about Gateway, 3-wide TV multicam, top of your screen, Alex Van de Sant in a gaggle of cars, still just eluded by that number 6 car, trying to get around him, trying to follow him, not quite able to make the pass yet, but that is such a hornet's nest these guys are in. Look at that. Jonathan Delaney has to get hard on the brakes, down low. That opens the door for maybe somebody up top to do something, but it's not going to work. As look at this. Here comes the 19 machine down low. Going to make the move on John Delaney. And now he's once again going to have to deal with Van de Sant behind him.
Yeah, I saw the 9 got loose off of 4. That's not something we've really seen. I haven't really seen any handling issues through 4. Is just ahead of that, we see Tyler Kinston. He's all the way up in the loose stuff, nearly into the fence there off of 2. That's going to give Delaney a little bit of momentum down the backstretch, but I think that momentum, rather that damage, is going to hurt that momentum. 96, again, with his big dives into the corners, is trying to use that in a way to set up the 6 machine, as he will not be able to do that. But this is going to be lap number 44 that we are taking in just a little bit. So only 2 laps to go in our stage. Hoytsma up by almost 2 seconds now. He's doing some pretty big things. Still have 28 drivers on our lead lap now. Adam Benefield is 1 lap down, so he should get the free pass. Only other driver off the lead lap, Mason Lowry, currently 3 laps down in the 30th spot.
And pit lane is closed. We got 2 to go in this stage. Lucas Hoytsma, not much of a challenge right now. He's got about 1.7 seconds over Bryson, who just made the move on Matt Long. And behind Matt Long, you got Jeremy Miller in the number 30 machine. Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe he's a newcomer to the league and up here inside the top 5, having a good run late in this stage. RJ Root, the Dirt Bristol winner, he's back in 5th. So a lot of these guys up front are kind of settled into where they're going to finish in the stage. They're not really within striking distance, as we do have the white flag for the stage here on lap 45. The only real battle here is Matt Long and Bryson, but Matt Long sends it too deep into the corner. He wanted to get around Bryson, and unfortunately, just a little too deep. He got into that outside wall, shades of Jonathan Delaney, and now he's not going to have a chance at it coming into 3 and 4.
Yeah, I mean, that playoff, or rather that extra point. Now, Matt Long does already have a win, so he's not, that extra playoff point could come in handy, but he's obviously not going to get it back from 3rd, but hopefully the damage isn't too bad, as this will conclude lap number 45. So, of course, we have to wait for 10th. Looks like that's Sean O'Brien now. He is in contest with the 67, but Sean O'Brien will be our last playoff point, and that is your stage 1.
Quite an eventful stage 1. Pretty good racing, especially back in the field, and having that yellow flag kind of mix things up made it a bit of a show. I'll tell you what, we're going to let these guys come down pit road, so we're going to throw it to a short break and put your ears at ease, and when these guys come out of the pits, we'll come back with an interview with our stage winner, Lucas Toitsma. And we are back. The cars are rolling out of pit road. You can see on the left-hand side how the running order might have changed through all of the stops, but we're going to bring Lucas Hoitsma in, our stage winner. Lucas Hoitsma, you got a copy?
Yep.
Well, Lucas, stage 1 was pretty interesting. A caution flag kind of split that thing in half, and there was a bit of differing strategies between everybody. Some guys took tires, such as yourself. Some guys stayed out. But I'd say your strategy paid off. You got the stage win. What was behind that decision?
Car wasn't feeling too good to start out the run. I wanted to change it. I figured they would actually go in, but they didn't, and I saw that as an opportunity. Go for some points, make the playoff run a little bit easier, and that's about it. We got a decent amount of tires here, so I figured I'd use some of them.
So you expecting this race to kind of stay green for the most part?
More like hoping, but yeah.
All right. Well, you're going to be going racing pretty quick here, so we'll put you back in with your team, and hopefully we're talking to you again soon, bud.
Appreciate it.
Something I don't see too often, Andre. I saw it on the front straightaway as I was watching Hoitsma from the exterior cams, and this track is very green, and especially on the lower lines. I saw a lot of dust coming up from his car, and that's obviously gets on the tires, and dust on the tires entering the corners here. That's obviously not good. Cold tires that are dirty, so I want to get a little shake on those things if I was him.
Yeah, I agree, and that is something that iRacing does have modeled. Dirty tires are very much a real thing. And if you can't get the dirt kind of swiped off of them, try to weave back and forth if you can. It's going to be a little bit loose, so it'll be interesting to see how that sorts itself out. Mason Lowry waiting to take his wave around up front. He will be one of the drivers being, actually maybe the only driver being waved around. But the front row will be Lucas Hoytsma and Bryson Hicksonbaugh, everybody on equal tires. Let's play a little bit of a 100% version of Where's Waldo? Where's John? That's what I want to know. I'm trying to find him. I'm looking through the grid here. Jonathan Delaney is not with the pack. I think he came down pit road to get some extra damage repaired.
Yeah, about a 29-second stop he just had as he's trying to close it.
So lights are off, I believe, on the pace car, and now he's got to catch up to him. How much work do you think he's going to have to put in to get to the front with his 6 machine?
It depends. If we're on, this is kind of weird, Andre, as I'm looking at it. So we do have, we had a 45-lap first stage. Now we have a 100-lap second stage, which is kind of weird. Oh, 195, 100, close enough. But so Carlos is correcting me. But we have a long second stage. Let's put it that way. It's double the length of the first one. So we should have a green flag stop in there potentially, or some kind of stop. So that'll be interesting to see. But he's going to have to work and get through the air, and hopefully that car is still driving decently for him. But we'll wait for that pace car to take its awkward turn there and just dive through the flat part there in turn number 4. And where is Hoytsma going to go? He's going to go very early in the zone, and you can see that dust kicking up as he's on that loud pedal and gets that huge gap over Hicksonbaugh.
I'll tell you what, this 30 car, I like the looks of this thing. It is absolutely an aggressive style that Jeremy has had all night long, pushing people into the corners, real aggressive on the overtakes. Now he's up into 30, got around Matt Long on the outside. I think he's kind of sending a message to the guys around him saying, hey, you want to make a pass, you need a shove, I'm going to give it to you because I want to get up front too. And a lot of these other guys have not shown that aggression. They've kind of just been running their races and being a little bit patient, trying to figure this track out. Meanwhile, Jeremy Miller says, I'm getting up there. So I'm curious to see where this goes.
Yeah, so the question there is, does he have enough confidence in Gateway from practice and prior experience, or does he just put caution to the wind and, just as the kids say, go full send from the very beginning? And well, he just had a wiggle there off of 2, so I'm gonna say the latter is probably the case. Hopefully he can do well and not burn the tires off. So you see a battle there on the long shot. That Kodak number 11 of Robert Anderson looking to the inside of that's the 8 of RJ Root. Root always has a different scheme. It's hard to always follow them, but nice ride. But he's to the outside down the front straightaway, and that is at the end of our top 10 first battle on the track.
And I'll tell you what, that number 11 has a substantial amount of damage to that rear bumper. I mean, just dead center. The diffuser's been up, the spoiler's in the air.
Oh, whoa, big wiggle in the back. That's Jason Baker in the grass. Jumped the pavement there, but so far we stay green.
I'm a little concerned that Jason Baker might have messed up his transmission or something when he spun like that, because I saw and maybe it was just a spectator thing, I swear I saw a plume of smoke there, and not like dust and dirt. I don't know, white smoke came out of the thing. So we'll see. A huge moment for Baker the second time he's got loose like that. It seems like turn 2 is the trouble spot.
We have replay queuing here. Definitely is the trouble spot, because that's where you're slowest, and that's where you can be most aggressive with the downshifts. And at least from the telemetry, it looks like he just got on the power too hard, and it just cut, and he couldn't get it back, and that was a hard lick to the inside wall.
That plume of smoke may be as a result of some of the damage from hitting that wall. But going back to that battle that you were kind of watching before all that, the 11 and the 8, these guys are still side by side. Corey, they've not left each other alone. The 11 sliding up 1 and 2 finally makes the overtake despite the damage. I'm just curious where he got that damage, because I mean that thing looks like it got hit by a bulldozer, and he's still up here running in the top 10.
Yeah, as long as that diffuser, I mean, we talked earlier that diffuser is not really diffusing too much here, because there's not much downforce to create when you're only going about 100 miles an hour through these corners. So most of that damage is not really going to actually affect the performance of the car. Now the spoiler is not in too great a shape, but at least from what we're seeing, it seems to be well and fine as Hutcherson's taking his chance and his opportunity to pass Root. He will clear. Will Root have a crossover in mind? I don't think he's going to have the momentum for that. So Hutcherson trying to pick off those spots and see what he can do. Currently running in 7th, about 3 seconds off your leader.
A little bit of work to do, 3 seconds back, but a little bit longer lap time. So when you see these big gaps, it's almost like road course racing. When the lap time is longer, you can make up more per lap as well. So we may see drivers, when they have a good car, closing in 3-4 tenths per lap. So that's what they're going to be trying to do. Lucas Hoytsma still about 8 tenths up on Bryson Nixonbaugh. Matt Long 1.5 seconds behind his teammate. And you have Jeremy Miller there in 4th. Jason S. Taylor, Pocono race winner, Jason S. Taylor, there in 5th. He won last season at Pocono, has not won since. Maybe looking to get another win at yet another kind of unorthodox track.
And right now, Andre, we kind of have a good perspective. I think the problem that we have seen a lot of the real-world drivers complaining about here at Gateway with the next-gen cars. So right now, everybody is essentially single file. And there's really one main lane here at Gateway. Is the 30 just got really loose off of 2. Everyone has one lane, so it's really hard to get clean air on the nose and get that maximum potential downforce. Everyone's running that same lane, and because we're not getting the the underbody aero effects, that's what makes it hard to kind of break that bubble. You really have to get creative and just find ways to get clean air, or really just try to find where your competitors are making mistakes and just do whatever you can to pounce on those opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be vigilant because the opportunities will be far and few between. Not many doors are going to open themselves tonight. So if somebody does make a mistake like that, the 11 getting a little bit sideways, you got to be ready and you can't hesitate. I mean, sometimes when a guy's sideways in front of you or they're making a bobble, in your mind, you're thinking, I should slow down and put myself out of harm's way. But in reality, you need to get on that loud pedal. You need to get alongside them. You need to force their hand into giving you that position because, like you said, passing may not be super easy tonight.
But the addendum to that is you see that opportunity and you're like, hey, all I got to do is just give it a little bit more throttle and I'll get that run. And then you get wheel spin and then you end up getting dead sideways off of 2 as everybody's doing. So it's really, you're kind of darned if you do, darned if you don't.
It is a thin line between the right amount of aggression and just a little bit too much. You're absolutely correct.
Lap 60. So if math is appropriate, that is no, it's not 100 miles. It's 25% distance. So it's some amount of miles has been complete. So we are ticking them off here at Gateway when we're going to be going to lap 140. So that's what I was saying. Carlos was kind of correcting me on the exact statistics, but this is kind of awkward, Andre. Usually stages 1 and 2 are modestly the same length, but we have essentially, we had a 45 lap first stage, and then we're going 95 laps for stage 2. So usually you don't see that big of a jump, and then another 100 laps to finish this out. So that being said, I don't think we've ever got a fuel number on what to expect here. I'd guesstimate in the realm of probably 60 laps, but if this does stay green, which sounds like it probably will by what we're seeing, we're gonna have to figure those strategies out over the course of the next 30 some odd laps.
Making a complete guess here, and again, that's what this is. It's a guess. Don't quote me on it. I can hear the notepads furiously quoting me on this as I speak. So at a normal 1.5 mile standard racetrack where the lap times are about 29-30 seconds, they go high 60s in terms of fuel. This track being a little bit longer, the lap times being a little bit longer, and a lot of on throttle time. 3 and 4, they're playing with the throttle pretty much the entire corner. I'm going to say low 60s for fuel, maybe high 50s if they want to play conservative and make sure they don't run out of fuel. But overall, I wouldn't say we're going to see too much difference from your standard 1.5 mile circuit that we've seen a few times this year. Overall, I think splitting this stage in half is going to be the strategy most of these guys are going to take, and it's going to be probably the easiest thing for them to do.
Probably the case. We have the longer lap times. We do have a good battle going on for 4th through, I'd even go as far to say 7, as Jason Taylor did get by Jeremy Miller. That puts the 12 into the 4th spot. Hutchison trying to get that 5th spot. Looks like he will do so successfully. Big bobble there into the wall slightly for the 30. And then here comes the 28, took advantage of all that. Now he's got a huge run down the back straightaway into turn number 3. He's going to send it on in underneath Hutchison. The 30 is going to try to regroup and maybe see if he could take advantage of this side-by-side endeavor. We'll see who is able to take advantage. Looks like Hutchison got the run off of 4, and he'll hold off the charge from Murray, at least for the moment.
It was a good move on the high side. He was very stable on the throttle, just got on a little bit earlier than the 28. That allowed him to get back around him, back into position, and get him cleared by the time they got to the straightaway. Again, it's a fine line, like we talked about, between getting on just a little bit too soon and capitalizing on a mistake and doing it right. And I think Ralph did it right there. But RJ Root getting real aggressive with Jeremy Miller back here. He is sliding across the back of his bumper, just barely avoiding him. He wants to make this pass. He wants to get up front. He's had a pretty good car all night long for Silver Bullet Racing, but he has kind of not had the track position. So if he can get up front, get some clean air, I'm sure that's an advantage that he's looking for. But a little loose out of turn 2. That's going to make him fall back slightly. And he can't fall back too far because right behind him, you got Robert Anderson waiting in the wings.
Robert Anderson has definitely had an interesting evening in that 11 machine. As I think that last time by off of 2, Andre, I'm pretty sure everybody got loose. It'll be interested maybe in a moment we can get an onboard and kind of get some different strategies and see what these guys are doing with shift points, because definitely that is going to be the case. But looks like just looking at the lap times, it looks like our top 2 are pretty much locked together, 35.87 to a 35.84 P1 and 2. Hoytsma's not really pulling a gap, as you can see on our ticker to the left side of your display. Hixenbaugh is within a half a second, so definitely Hoytsman's going to have to be on his game to hold that lead. Hixenbaugh is hungry in that second spot and is trying to eat into that gap as best he can.
Let's try and take a look at the lap time differentials between Hoytsma and Hixenbaugh if we can. I think Hixenbaugh has slowly been reeling him in. Right there, thank you, Carlos, 0.1 seconds, 100th of a second there, 600s, 300s. So it's been a little dense here and there in the gap, but he's making them, or he's closing in.
Yeah, but that kind of distance is going to make it very difficult for him, because he's only gaining, maybe a foot here, foot here, foot there, if I can speak. But he's going to get to that he's going to get to that quarter second area, and that's where the air is going to make his car very, very unhappy. And that's where he's going to have, as we said, to get very vigilant, creative, and try to figure out what to do from there. So the $1 million question is, what's going to happen if he's able to get to that distance? But at least off of 2, that gap's going to remain solid. And both of these drivers have pulled away from Long. Matt Long is now back by about a second and a half in that 3rd spot. So again, this is all in stage number 2. Hoytsma did win that first stage, and trying to get that additional playoff point if he is able to. See if he can do the clean sweep. Not sure if anybody has done the clean sweep this season. I'm sure somebody has, but I may not have been around for it. But Hoytsma will see if he can do that tonight.
It'll be interesting to see. I just want to check back through the field update on John Delaney, who seemed to have the fastest car in stage 1. Didn't quite have the strategy, and then getting into the wall here at the end of this stage and kind of trying to fix that under yellow and trying to make up for it here in stage 2. He's slowly working his way through the field. He's up to 15th, and his lap times still aren't as good as some of the leaders right now. He's not as fast as he was before the damage, so I'm curious to see how much progress he can make before the end of the stage. With this stage being a little bit longer than stage 1, luckily he has more time and may even have a moment to try to get a few seconds of damage fixed if he still has it under his pit stop. But he's going to need every bit that he can get. Here we go. Battle for the lead. The 07 has fallen to the clutches of Bryson Hixenbaugh, and now it's a 2-car battle to see who's going to take this stage win, possibly into turn 1. Bryson laying back a little bit as we go on board, and that's been the MO for Bryson all night, Corey. He's taking a much slower entry than I would say most other cars, but that's where it pays off. Look at this. Look at that huge run coming out of the corner. He seems to be the only guy taking that slow in, fast out approach, and the 07.
And he puts himself in the fence trying to, he allowed Hoytsma to regroup, and in the process, he put himself into the fence because he let off the throttle at a very awkward point of the track. Now, that's going to give him some right front damage to Hixenbaugh, and how much is that going to affect his car is the $1 million question.
Luckily, I don't think he hit it too hard, and the 07 is continually making mistakes here. These guys are driving the wheels off this thing, despite the 63. Oh, we're going to take a replay, top of the 3Y TV multicam. You can see he just I think he was reacting to the 0-7 getting sideways, and he wanted to give him room. He was afraid the 0-7 was going to shoot back up the track, but in doing so, he put himself in the marbles, overestimated the rotation of his own car, and just kind of slid up into that outside wall. Bottom of your screen, that's live. That's what's going on right now. Both of these drivers making continual bobbles, just messing up time after time. They're staying right with one another, but in doing so, they are allowing Matt Long to close what was a 1.9-second gap, now down to 1 second to the leader.
Yeah, Carlos, I'm not sure if we can queue up like a rear bumper shot off of Hoytsma so we can see the front end of Hixenbaugh to see what that damage is. But definitely you could see some crinkle there. It looks like we're seeing if we can just get a good view of that right front damage on Hixenbaugh, but at least from what he's doing right now, he is regaining that time. You can see here we do have it on screen. You can see how that right front fender is buckled in, and that kind of hood vent is overly exaggerated because it's been bent up. So how much of a difference that makes here at Gateway, I guess we'll see, but he is kind of regrouped already and planning a second charge, and I think he's going to be a little bit more aware that Hoytsma is entering turn 3 a little bit slower than he expected this time.
And that damage is modeled a little bit differently than what we saw with Jonathan Delaney, so it may not be as detrimental. With Jonathan Delaney, you could see into the engine bay. The hood was lifted up so much. Here, it's just a bit of a crinkle. The fender kind of extends into the bumper. I'm not sure if he got any mechanical damage, if he bent something on the A-arm or anything like that. We'll have to see. They're starting to pull away again from Matt. Well, actually, no. Matt Long's staying about 0.8 back, so everybody very equally paced. I thought just from visuals alone that Matt Long was falling back, but no, he's actually still there with them in terms of lap time. Bryson not quite able to make the move yet on Lucas.
RJ Root sideways into the grass down the back straightaway. Just did a major save there. I caught it on my back and he didn't manage to correct himself. But again, turn 2 is definitely the slick spot here. But that he is okay.
Yeah, that is the trouble spot for sure. It's a shame for RJ. He was having a really good run so far tonight and going to drop some positions there. But hey, it's early. We're on lap 77 out of 240. We still got well over halfway in this race. So see what he can do to make a comeback here. But look at this, right on the bumper. Bryson aggressive with this 0-7. Coming into turn 3 and 4. How is he going to handle it? Is he going to try to follow his line?
He's looking high. I think he's going to try to do the high-low crossover move and get the run down the front straightaway. I just don't know if he's going to have enough to muster it. He's not. He's going to fall back a car length. So we'll see what he chooses to do in turn 1. I think he's going to be very cautious, very patient with it because he doesn't want to have a replication of what happened a few laps ago. And a little bit of a wiggle from Hoytsma off of 2 there on the throttle point there. But that's kind of the normality that these guys are dealing with tonight.
Yeah, they're getting real sketchy out of turn 2. And as the tires wear, it happens more and more. You don't really see that at the beginning of a run when they got fresh tires, but right there, that was a good example of what happens when the tires are loose. And Bryson, he clips the apron and uses that for a little bit of rotation on exit. That gets him underneath the 0-7, side by side for the lead going into turn 1. Remember, this is an early braking zone for Bryson. Lucas has been driving in a little bit deeper. We'll see how does this play out. Bryson's clear, but can he hold it? Lucas could have got a run on the high side there, but he got sideways, had to give it up. All that allowing Matt Long to close back, and he was falling back again. He started to lose a little bit of time finally, but with that battle happening as it did, he's now on the bumper of Lucas Hoytsma. He's got an opportunity to make a pass. And you got to think, Corey, Lucas's tires are probably pretty hot right now. He's been sliding around quite a bit. Matt Long hasn't.
Yeah, I was surprised. I couldn't tell if Hoytsma was purposely running that high. He was letting him go, or if he just overcooked it, because he could have held a side by side with Hixenbaugh if he ran a little bit lower. If he ran a similar line to what he ran there, he probably could have sustained that lead for a little bit longer. But I think the handling, the tires they're mad, and here on iRacing and kind of attuned to real life, once the tires get mad, they don't really ever get happy again. So he may be on for a very difficult ride for probably another 20-30 laps until we see these guys on pit road. And even through 3 and 4 there, where we haven't seen too many handling problems, he's even slideways through there as well.
Yeah, like you said, once the tires are angry, they stay angry. It's just the way the heat cycle is. Something with this tire, once you cycle it through and you fluctuate those temperatures, it's never the same.
Happened with Tyler Pinsino, as we're seeing on our screen there for a moment. He's in the pits and looks like he has pulled it to the garage for the remainder, as we have the replay on screen for you. Looks like something off of turn number 2, not a big surprise. He got loose, and hello, wall.
Hello, wall. It's been a long time. He didn't hit the closer barrier. He went all the way down to that break in the wall, which I'd have to assume is some hefty damage. The race does stay green, but unfortunate for that 19 machine. Just trying to chase it down the track and making the right call.
Yeah.
He didn't want to slide back up on the track in front of traffic. He was just chasing it down and ran out of space.
Yeah, I don't think he's glad about that hefty damage.
All right, here we go again.
I had to start it. So it was which one was gonna draw first blood, essentially. But back to the 7th position, I see 6th and 7th. That is Van de Sande. He is looking, or was looking, to the inside of Ralph Hutchison, but he's going to stay in line. Nearly a little contact, a little bit of a nudge to the back bumper of the 54 there. If there's one person in this race I would not give the bumper to, it is that 54 machine. So luckily there was no issues there in the process. Stone's going to look to the outside. Looks like the 96 is going to do that mega send into the corner, and he's going to get the position on the 54. Can the 54 put up a fight? The answer is no, but let's see if anything happens here in turn 1.
Man, the way Ralph slotted in front of Cameron Stone, I was not sure he was clear from the angle we had, but he must have been because they didn't wreck. So looks like Cam's going to try to get a run down low as well. Hutchison kind of starting to go the wrong way. Meanwhile, his teammate, he's going the right way. That's John right behind him. Last time we checked on him, he was P15, battling for P14. Now he's fighting for 8th all the way up here in the top 10. So it took the 6 a little while to come in, but he is definitely on the move. They haven't even got the green flag stopped, and he's in the top 10.
And more importantly, look at the lap times. The last time he registered, it's obviously going to update right now, but he ran a 36.2 prior to this lap where he's in traffic. He ran a 36.2 to about a 36.6, 36.7 for our leaders. So in clean real estate, that 6 is, essentially no harm, no foul. So that's definitely not good news for the competition, because once he gets that track position back, he very well just may pick up where he left off before.
The battle for 2nd has been pretty fun to watch. I've been following along from my iRacing perspective here, and Matt Long's made a few attempts at it. Last time by, he actually dove it into 1 and 2, got to the bumper of the 07, was actually alongside, and then had to give it up. He got a little bit squirrely. So I think Matt Long may have the faster car right now. Just a matter of finding the right time to make the pass. I think 1 and 2 is the best overtaking zone, but it's got to be perfect. I mean, the circumstances have to be in your favor. Otherwise, it's still going to be difficult to make that pass. It's a bit of a patience game here for Matt Long.
Passing in turn 1 and 2 here is very akin to Martinsville, where you get to the inside of somebody, they can kind of hold off on the outside enough to where it's annoying and you can't clear, but you are faster. So a lot of times you'll see drivers intentionally wash up the track a little bit and kind of force themselves clear. Obviously you see that more at the end of the race than at the beginning, as against some more wiggles and lap traffic off of turn number 2 there. Some interesting situations going on. But so far everybody is fine. Looks like Lowry is getting by on some fresh tires, and Boucher, on the contrary, is getting to the outside and trying to get out of the way of these guys.
It was a big moment for Matt Long, getting a little bit sideways. I'm not sure if he was a bit intimidated by that 56 coming up on fresher tires. Mason Lowry was closing in, so maybe Matt Long was just trying to overdrive a little bit between trying to catch up to the 07 and keep that 56 in his rear view, but it cost him some time, and now he's got a bit of work to do to get back up to Hoytsma for 2nd place. Looks like Bryson.
Hixenbaugh, yep.
He's going to come down this pit road access lane. Now, we haven't really talked about this so far tonight, but there is actually 2 braking zones for the pit entry here. There's a braking zone to get onto this access road, and then there's a braking zone to actually get down to pit road speed. So one of the more complicated pit road entries, not often you have 2 separate braking zones. Even on the most difficult pit road entries like Dover and Darlington, those are hard to enter pit road, but there's still 1 braking zone. Here we've got 2.
Yeah, this is, kind of Homestead akin prior to some updates, or Indy for that matter. Actually, maybe not Indy, except on the outlet. But you kind of you can gain so much time by how risky you want to be, how much you want to send it on that flat access or that flat, dirty, dusty, marble-infested access road. It's time gainer and it's time loser. And particularly, as you said, once you get down to that cone, there's just so much driver time to make up and lose that you have to go for it, but it could be very, very risky.
And I'm pretty sure Bryson has done a lot of practice with pit road entry and exit. He told his teammate Cody Bird that was something that he should focus on as well. Very aware of that issue going into tonight and trying to make sure that if anybody has any issues on pit road, it won't be his team. And he had a really good stop. In and out, no problems. We're going to see where he cycles out. The question now is, Corey, how do the other guys answer this? What does Hoytsma do? What does Delaney do? He's been racing his way through the field, but he stays out on old tires too long. That advantage he's been working to get may slip through his fingers.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting call. And I do just want to point out from a numeric perspective, this is a little bit earlier than I would have expected because we are still, 49 laps. So, and this is lap number 43. So this is kind of going for the undercut.
Brandon Pierce, number 38 machine, he's going to roll through his stall, have to hit the reverse pedal and lose a little bit of time there. Here comes Cody Bird down pit road. Let's see if he gets into his stall.
You have a car that has a reverse pedal?
I mean, Brandon Pierce does. he uses reverse more than some of these guys, so he went ahead and specialized in that.
Oh, a mistake turns into a jab. I love it. See, we do have, again, from a back-end perspective, we can tell you as we do have our multicam on screen now, Hoytsma on the bottom, and Ralph Hutchison losing some spots, or I believe he's just on the older tires to the top of the screen. We can tell you what the pit lane time is from cone to cone, including the stop, but we can't tell you is, again, how well they utilize those in and out roads. So it'll be interesting to see the battles that we were watching before the pit stops and what those gaps are, how they relate after the pit stops, so we kind of really see how those drivers, what the aggression level is. Looks like here comes our leader down. We can see who got it and who didn't, relating to getting on those access roads.
Yeah, it would be some interesting data to have because there is just so much time to gain or lose. Top of the 3xTV multicam, that is Cameron Stone, Jonathan Delaney, and I believe Alexander Van de Sant. No, that is actually the 83 of Adam Benefield. I apologize. Two blue cars. And these guys are 3 cars under a blanket trying to sort themselves out. I believe the 83 has already pitted, so he's got fresh tires. He's just trying to navigate through these guys, and they're not making it easy for him, Corey.
Yeah, not. Well, we are still waiting on approximately 11 drivers to make their stops. That's how the 96 of Van der Sant has gained the lead, but we find him on pit road right now. So John Delaney, he is going to retake the lead at least for the moment right now. So still waiting on him to come to pit road. We're on lap number 47 laps into his pit stint. So we'll see what happens. Hoytsma is exiting the track now and is still staying on the lead lap. So if caution does come out, he will still be on the lead lap, not needing a wave or a lucky dog. That is a very crucial piece of information when green flag stops are underway.
Yeah, that would be very important. Alexander Van de Sant making his way out of pit road, so we are getting closer and closer to the conclusion of this green flag sequence, but very spread out. I mean, the first taker, at least out of the leaders, was, I believe, all the way back on lap 88-ish, roundabout, and we're on lap 95. Still have some guys yet to come down pit road, so differing strategies here. It's getting a little bit interesting in stage 2.
Delaney down pit road, or entering the access road, rather.
We'll see where he cycles out, and more importantly, where does Bryson cycle out? He, of course, had the lead when he did come down pit road, but some drivers may have had a faster entry, exit, maybe just a better stop, maybe cycled out ahead of him. We'll have to wait and see, as John actually has some extra damage that I did not see him acquire on the
Oh, yeah,
right
that's
rear.
pretty significant.
Yeah, not sure where he got that, but again, it didn't seem to be holding him up prior to his pit road entry, so
We'll try to do some little back-end research while we figure that out. But yeah, very interesting to see, and even more impressive if he's going to be able to run those lap times with an absolutely pancake right side of his vehicle.
And was that Ralph Hutchison that missed his pit stall there? Had to hit the as I call it, the reverse pedal. Yeah.
That's because I picked him. That's because I picked him. So he's got to make sure that I don't get my pick of the race.
It's a long race. He still got time, and actually didn't lose a whole lot. He just barely missed it. So Brandon Pierce lost a little bit more going through than he did. We'll see where he cycles out, but everybody just trying to find their place on the track. Adam Benefiel right behind Matt Long. He's trying to figure out where he is going to go. And we finally have our graphics back up on screen. Apologize for the technical difficulties here. Right now it's Raymond Root in the number 8 who has the lead. He's the last holdout. Behind him, once he does pit, it'll be Bryson with the lead, with Alex Murray about 2.5 seconds behind. So that undercut working pretty well for Bryson now. With how important tires are here, the tire wear is so drastic. Do you think that staying out a little bit longer will prove to be effective for some of these other drivers like John Delaney and Alexander Van de Sande?
In my personal experience, I have lost many races. I've lost a championship. I have never had the undercut really ever work out for me, so I'm naturally going to be biased to saying that the other drivers that have stayed out later will be advantageous, but just due to Murphy's Law, if I do something, it's going to fail. If they do it, it's probably going to be successful. So for that matter, I guess maybe it is the right call. I guess we'll have to find out.
Indeed, we will. And I believe our leader is still out on track. Raymond Root trying to stretch this thing as far as he can, holding out for a caution. Yeah, I would assume at this point it's kind of his last hope. But even so, it won't be long before he is past just under green flag conditions regardless. With those older tires, Bryson is continually closing in lap after lap. And right there you see it go from 10 seconds down to 9.6, 9.5, just diminishing and diminishing. He's going to have no choice but to pit relatively soon.
And I did finally, after a way too much research, Delaney did get that extra damage just by another pancake to the wall, completely uninstigated, just hit the turn 2 wall on his own, but it doesn't really seem to be affecting him.
That's interesting to hear. You know, it is a tough track. We've seen drivers get loose. We've seen drivers get up into the outside wall, and 1 and 2 is definitely the more difficult of the turns that we've seen, because it's either coming out of the corner or going in that we've seen issues. A few drivers have got a little squirrely out of 4, but those have been far and few between compared to 1 and 2. So I want to go ahead and take a look at the track temp right now. It is 118 degree track surface right now. That is pretty excessive, ladies and gentlemen. That is a pretty warm track, and I have to imagine that is contributing to some of the issues these guys are having in that tight turn.
Yeah, certainly the case. I've noticed that there's a trend lately that the track temps on iRacing have been just exorbitantly hot. I don't know why I can't utter that phrase out, but definitely the track temps are warmer, and that's going to lead to more tire wear, more rubber going down, slicker conditions, more wheel spin. Basically, nothing positive ever happens from a car handling perspective when you get that warm track condition. So definitely why we've probably seen as many issues as we've had. But Root still up by 4 seconds over Hitzenbaugh, who will take the lead. And look at Root. He's essentially just a roadblock. He's just getting out of the way to saying, you guys go, I want nothing to do with it. But he's probably going to find himself a lap down. Not probably, I can almost 100% guarantee he's going to find himself a lap down once this all shakes out. So whether this actually is a good strategy, I'm actually starting to flip the script and saying I don't quite believe so. His last lap was a 38-second lap when everybody else is in the 35. So 3 seconds essentially he is losing, and he's going to keep it out one more time as well.
So 56, now 57 laps as he avoids pit road this time that he has stayed out. 57 laps is the longest run we've seen. I would say second only to that 46 lap run you saw down at the bottom of the graphics. So definitely testing the limits, and if you're going to pull a crazy strategy, now is the time. Again, we're not even quite halfway through this event, so figure out what your car does on the long run. Figure out if that is going to work out for you when the race comes down towards the end, when it really matters. Because right now, he may go a lap down, but he's got time to make up for that in this race.
Yeah, this is actually a live battle for the lead right now as the 63 Hixabaugh will take the lead, and we're just going to do a very, very small bit of elementary math here, Andre. So the average pit lane time from cone to cone is about 42 seconds. I'll average out. We'll say that they lose about 3 seconds on each pit road. So I'd say maybe about 48 seconds of overall time. We'll just estimate that you lose on pit lane. Now, can he gain enough time to get back on the lead lap before the stage? That's basically saying he has to gain 13 laps and probably 13 seconds and about 20 laps. I would say he should be able to do that, but it's going to be a very close call if he's going to be able to get back on the lead lap before the end of the stage.
With 3-second difference per lap, you're right. That's going to be close, but it is possible. So it'll be interesting to watch if he can actually do this. He's going to have to play his cards right. He's going to have to be consistent. He's not going to be able to get sideways and make bobbles like some of these guys are doing. He's got to go about his race near perfectly, but he could do it.
But he has one major thing going for him, Andre, and that means he has a sticker on his car. He is a race winner. He can mess around and take chances because he is locked in, and he is, this time he is coming to the pits on, basically that'll be his 60th lap. So whether that's the end of the fuel load or he just gave up, seems like that's the longest anyone's gone is 60 laps.
Big lockup out of RJ coming into pit road. I'm not sure if he got into that outside wall. I'm not seeing any damage. There was a lot of smoke, and he had to make a hard left to veer away from that wall. And coming into the pit stall, he will make it in. Doesn't blow by it. Let's see if we can actually dial up a replay of his pit road entry with a bit of a better angle. And while we do that, on your screen, that is 96 machine Alexander Van de Sant fighting with Cameron Stone. But here we go. 3-wide TV play. A little bit too late on this one. We'll try and rewind. And yeah, big lockup coming in. He's on that access road, and it's a bit of a pull to the left here to get in. Yeah, he's all right. That wasn't too big of a lockup. It looked a lot more violent from the end of pit road there, but he should be penalty free.
We do have a battle for the lead shaking up because Alex Murray does have 2-lap fresher Goodyears on his number 28 ride, and he is hanging within roughly a half second of Hixabaugh. He was gaining quite a bit more. He's kind of doing that 96 machines entry into the corners, definitely going really deep on the binders as they get by Jason Baker, I believe that was, who hit the fence off of 2. But we'll see what happens. That gap now down to about 3/10. You can see the gap variance there and all that green under Murray. That means he is fast, and that's quite evident with how much time he just gained through 3 and 4.
Yeah, he gained a lot of time on entry, kind of give it back up on exit, and it's just the differing lines here. He's, like you pointed out, driving a bit like Van de Sant, very aggressive into the corners. And Bryson is still taking that lax entry, backing up the braking point more than a lot of these guys, which opens the door for these guys to lunge. If they can't make the lunge, that's great for Bryson because he gets the run out. But if they do make the lunge, that'll be incredibly detrimental. Another thing I'm noticing is into 3 and 4, Bryson is diamonding it. He's diving in really low on corner entry, drifting up about a lane, and then back down the banking towards the bottom. Not very many tracks on the circuit do you see these guys run the diamond line. And even at this track, it seems like Bryson is one of few to do that in 3 and 4.
I see that. You see that at a Loudon, which is a very comparable track to here, and maybe even a Dover, which isn't quite comparable, but you do see that line there is a bit bobbles there from the 28. But yeah, definitely that is the case. And I will say that the line Hixabaugh is running is actually giving Murray the opportunity to get some clean air on the nose because Hixabaugh is running a lower line, and that gives Murray a chance to run a slightly higher line, which it's not drastic, but it's just enough to get a little bit more downforce on the 28, help his entry, which is actually helping him out and closing in, as you can definitely see here through 1 and 2. He's right to the back bumper, but Hixabaugh just gets on the loud pedal a little bit earlier and is able to sustain it. But again, a little bit of draft here at Gateway. These are rather long straightaways. That'll pull that 28 in just a car length, and you see the slightly different lines entering 3. 28's going to run a little bit higher. Hixabaugh is going to go up the track. He's going to try to cut it back down for that diamond, but doing that takes all the air off 28, and again, it just evens out everything he gains.
And the lap times don't lie. I think Alex Murray does have the faster car at the moment. It's just a matter of making this pass, and it has been so difficult for him to try to make that pass. There is, in his favor, a lot of lap cars not far ahead of these guys. Give them a few more laps, they will be there. I'm
sorry to cut you off, but yeah, RJ Root, we talked about, can he get back on the lead lap? Well, he's going to answer that question rather quickly for us.
Yes, he absolutely will, with time to spare. We're on lap 113. He's only got to get to 140 before the stage. So, man, oh man, the strategy is working out pretty well for him, I would say. Kind of taking a bad situation and making it good. And that also momentarily helped Bryson, because it did put a little bit of separation between himself and Alex Murray. But Murray, the next couple corners, immediately made that time back up. And as Bryson gets a little bit squirrely coming out of turn 2, gives Murray the run down the straightaway. Now, I've noticed Murray really looking around the track to try to figure out, how can I get around this guy? He was taking a very wide entry into 3 and 4 and arcing it down into the corner, apexing it as you'd expect. Now he's trying to emulate Bryson's line. He's trying to follow him down low on entry and then kind of diamonding it with him. And I think that's just him trying to figure out, okay, is that really fast, or can I use that? Maybe I can just get up behind him and get that air off the spoiler and maybe get a little bit sideways. Just doing whatever he can. So far, still riding in second. It's a really fun battle to watch. I mean, I feel like even though the 28's a little bit faster,
here he comes.
It's been a good fight regardless, and that 28 is down low. He's going to slide up a little bit here. Bryson should have a run on corner exit, but as I say that, look at this. Alex Murray, really fast in the center of the corner, really fast on corner exit. It's a drag race to the line. I believe Bryson's going to lead that lap by a hair, but here we go into turn 1. Advantage to Alex Murray. Alex is going to just barely outbreak the 63, hold him to the high line. Bryson being very generous here, not pinching him down to that apron, which is something you can do. If you pinch him down to that apron, they're going to have no choice but to lift. Coming down the back straightaway still, though. Bryson holding strong, but how long can he do this, Corey? I mean, this is some very strong defense, but
That 63 is running some Celtic-style defense right here on that outside lane. He's absolutely just hounding the 28. He's pinching him down. He's not letting him go anywhere. But the 28 is just being patient. He could send it a little bit more, but look at him. He's going to clear. I didn't know if he was going to force the clear there, but he's going to do exactly that. Hixenbaugh tries to set up for a crossover, but just didn't have enough momentum, couldn't get on the throttle at the right point. So now he's going to have that dirty air onto the nose of that 63, and he's going to feel the exact pain that Murray just did. You can see they're running that exact same line through 3 and 4. Hixenbaugh is going to use that diamond line and get a little bit of clean air on the nose off of 4, but then he got tight, and then 28 will pull away by a car length or 2.
So, quick update on the driver of the 83. Adam Benefield has taken the car behind the wall. He has left the session. I'm not sure why. There may have been an unseen incident that we didn't catch. His crew chief is also out of the session. Dustin Hall, I believe, was kind of playing a support role for him here tonight other than racing. And he left about the same time Adam did. So, not sure what happened, but the filter time machine is out of the running. It's really surprising.
Yeah, that's the case. And I'm also surprised that Dustin Hall's not here. So from what my understanding is, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, I think they have to have 12 races run to use their win and in to enter the playoffs. And from what I'm seeing here on our point standings, Dustin Hall has 11. So I think maybe he's being like picky and choosy on the races he wants to run, because he knows he's kind of locked in. But maybe we'll see that one machine on the track pretty soon. So we didn't really have our point standings to go over. We didn't have our playoff graphic available for us, so that's why we didn't bring that up. But not much has changed in that regard. Delaney's obviously is at the top of the playoff leaderboard with those 5 wins. Zick Ottinger, he is on the playoff board with 3 wins, but we don't really expect him to stay in there with his participation level. So for a lot of these guys, a win is definitely going to be important. I'm trying to see where Alex Murray is in the standings now. He is relatively new. He's only run 5 races, but if he is able to win and finish out the remaining races in the regular season, that would put him in the playoffs.
Yes, it could be a bit of a shake-up here. Alex Murray not showing up very often, but fast when he does. And if he can get this win, put him in a pretty decent situation as Bryson just kind of slipping back right now, doesn't quite have the pace to keep up. And this is what we saw before Alex Murray caught up to Bryson and got stalled out in that dirty air. He was closing in by a few hundredths, few tenths per lap. And now that he's got that clean air and he's out front, he's now pulling away by that same amount every time. So Bryson comfortably in second. Alex Murray just trying to hold his lead there, running his line, hitting his marks. And everybody pretty calm right now. We haven't had any big bobbles as of late. We'll knock on wood for that because I don't want to give anybody the commentator's curse here. John Delaney has made his way up to P6. I just checked in with him. He's running 36.1s roundabout at this stage into the stint. And he's right behind a couple of cars. Jason Baker, Alex Princeton. These guys are a lap down. It's not for position for John, so he's just kind of got to figure out how to get around him. The next car for position for John is a little bit further up in the windshield. That's Cameron Stone in P5. Cameron was he was digging this track. From what I heard, you know, he didn't really explicitly say it, but I could hear it in his voice when he was talking about this track and the way that you drive it. I could tell he was having a lot of fun here, and it makes sense. This isn't a short track. It's you could hardly even call it an intermediate. It is a very large track, but the way that turn 1 and 2 and the way that turn 3 and 4 kind of force you to slow that car down, whoa it up, get on the brakes, it does kind of feel like a short track at times. And that is Cam's forte. He's always been good at that style of racing where you're heavy on the braking, heavy on the steering wheel, and just trying to be consistent with it. So no surprise that he's having a good top 5 night.
I mean, and I do mention that Delaney, by the way, does have about 5-6 lap fresher tires than everybody else. He is running about 2-3 tenths a lap faster. Well, part of it is speed, but part of it is those tires. But yeah, bringing up this track, I've seen so much over the past couple days of how this track is being related to Phoenix, and that kind of baffles me that they say that, because I really relate this place to 1 and 2 is kind of I'll almost kind of say a Martinsville meets Loudon, and then 3 and 4 is kind of akin to almost like a Milwaukee Mile for me. But either way, both of those tracks are on the larger scale. For some reason they want to call it Phoenix. I think Phoenix is a lot more sweeping, but you know, to each their own. But yeah, this track definitely is a difficult one, and brings out a lot of skill in these drivers. You're not gonna, you know, just have a tire strategy and a quick 3 or 4 laps and, you know, win on a green-white checker here at Gateway. You're definitely gonna be wheeling it, and the cream is always gonna rise to the top, as Delaney is proving, as he did just pass Stone for that 5th spot. Only 5 seconds behind the lead, 20 laps in the stage. Now, we've done math enough times to our fail. I don't think he's going to get the stage win, but there's a loose possibility. He could probably get probably as high as 3rd if he really goes for it.
I could definitely see him getting up to 3rd. He's really on pace right now, which is very surprising. With the damage that he had and the kind of pace that he had lost before he was able to repair that, I'm thinking, man, there's no way he's going to get back up there. I think that car is DOA, but no, he's really been wheeling this thing, and his lap times aren't a whole lot slower than they were at the beginning of the race. So he's really pushing through and doing what he needs to do to kind of compensate for that damage, whatever that may be, and getting himself inside the top 5. That's a great start to a comeback here. And even if he doesn't get up to 3rd, even if he just kind of rides in 5th or maybe 4th for the end of this stage, he's still going to have really good track position going into the next stage, Corey. He's going to be able to come down pit road with everybody else, get fresh tires, and for the first time since the incident that he had, he'll have fresh tires and track position. So that'll be pretty big.
He just about hit the fence there off of 2 that last lap, so I think he is still giving it 100% effort, and, you know, doing that. We've seen how many guys have given 100% effort and have ended up in the fence, probably at least double digits so far. So may want to just tone it back just a little bit to preserve the car for the final stage. At least that's my conservative opinion on the matter. As we do, let's see what we have on our screen at home. We do have, it looks like the number, I'm trying to see who that is, the number 97 on your screen now, with just behind, that's Ralph Hutchison, and that's the 51 of, I think that was Jason Baker, getting loose for about the 87,000th time off corner number 2, but does manage to save it once more.
Coming through 3 and 4, we're following along with that 38 machine. and Baker, who just had that big moment behind him. Brandon Pierce is he's had a bit of a rough go of it tonight with that pit road incident there and a little bit of damage to that 38 machine, but he's doing a good job to keep on trucking, try to salvage what he can out of this race so far. And I think that's going to be kind of the mindset for a lot of these guys. This race has been so difficult. The car has been such a handful for these guys. They can just keep it on the track, get what points they can. I think a lot of these guys will be happy to leave with just a decent points day. But this battle right here is pretty fun to watch. You got Ryan Ducombe, Randy Drumhiller, Jason Baker, all duking it out here, and I believe most of these guys are for position. Drumhiller and Baker at least are. I'm not sure about Ducombe. I don't believe Ducombe is. No, Ducombe's lead lap. Drumhiller and Baker were racing for position. Got split up by the 99, so he's going to try to get around Drumhiller here, down into 1 and 2. Not going to make it happen yet. And closes the gap, though. A little bit further up the grid from these guys as they start to get a little separated here. Jonathan Delaney is closing in on Lucas Weitzma for 4th here, Corey. It's only a 4/10 of a second difference. The last time we looked, it was about a second. So he's got 8 laps left to do something with it. Can he close in the rest of the way for 4th?
I mean, last time by, he was 2.5 tenths faster, and he's even 2 tenths faster than our leader. So, again, he's not going to get 3, almost 4 seconds in 13 laps without a catastrophic event from Murray. But, you know, anything is obviously possible. But Hoytsma obviously led the vast majority of our opening segment. I think he's led 53 laps from what I'm seeing. So, unfortunately for him, that, you know, Delaney is starting to resurge, and we found some new resurgence from Murray and Hicksabah just ahead of him. And kind of quietly, we've kind of omitted the 96 of Vandesant, who is in 3rd and is stalking the back bumper of Hicksabah for that 2nd spot. So again, we talked about how the 96 is, you know, learning ovals. He's new to essentially everything about what we're doing here tonight, and you know, we're over halfway, but he's definitely managed to figure something out and, you know, kind of tone his skill set into this next gen car at a difficult track and trying to get that 2nd spot.
Yeah, that was kind of what I predicted at the beginning of the race. I said the longer this night goes on, the more he's going to learn, the better he's going to get in the rhythm. And I think that's shown. He is getting a little bit better. You can see the lines he's running aren't quite as abrasive, a little bit smoother with his inputs now. And he closed in on Bryson so much there. 3 tenths, 3 tenths, 2 tenths, half a second. And now that he's behind him, he's kind of stalled out, as happens so often at this track, it seems like. But still a very fast machine, very talented driver. And if he can make something happen in the next 5.5 laps, he may be looking at a 2nd position in this stage. Ooh, just getting into the outside wall a little bit there, I think.
Yeah, just a little bit. He already had a little bit of damage, so I mean, just a little bit more. I mean, what's it going to do at that point? I guess that's kind of the situation that almost everybody in the field is in. Probably less Alex Murray up front. I don't think there is a scratch on that machine, but commentator's curse. I'll probably hit the wall off of turn 4. Never know, but hopefully he doesn't. But he's putting, that is Chad Edwards in the 4. He is the last on the lead lap, and I'm not sure how long that's going to continue for. Well, we do have 10 laps to go. I guess our lucky dog battle will be one to kind of loosely pay attention to. Some probably about 4, I'd say 5 guys have an opportunity or likeliness to go a lap down before the end of the stage at lap 145. So we'll see what happens there. But still watching that battle for 2nd, and Delaney did manage to get by Hoytsma, so he is going to be putting the jets on, trying to get to this battle for 2nd.
Yeah, we actually caught it when we were following along with the battle for 2nd. You could see just at the tippy top of the screen, Hoytsma and Delaney had gone side by side through the corner, and Delaney did get the advantage. Now, like you said, trying to run down Vandesant and Bryson. I'm not sure he's going to have time to do it. He is a little bit quicker than these guys. Last time by for Delaney, it was a 36.5. It was a 36.7 for both of the cars ahead of him. That's 2 tenths faster, which is definitely substantial. But with only 3.5 laps left in this stage, don't think it's going to be quite enough. Even if he could reach him, passing him has just been proven to be so difficult tonight. These guys struggling with the overtakes time and time again. Alex Vandesant for 2nd place. I'm watching him right now. He was all the way down on the curb looking like he might try to stick his nose in, just couldn't make it happen. So overtakes very difficult, and in the meantime, up front, Alex Murray just driving away with a 1.7 second lead as we take lap 138. just 2.5 more times around this track for Alex Murray, and he may be stage winner.
Obviously, it will again help his cause out. We talked about where he stood. He's not too great of a spot in terms of the point standing, so anything he can get will help out. Now, whether he can hang on for another 100 laps for the win, that's a different story, because there is that number 6 car just hunting his way through the field. But any point will obviously help here, as we are, past halfway, 100 laps to go, which sounds like the race is coming to a close, but 100 laps here at Gateway is still a significant amount of time, at least 2 more pit stops. And we talked earlier, Andre, about the tire strategy and how there's a ton of tires on the on behind the wall here. Most of these drivers have really only used 2. We have another 5 sets in the pit, so if this does end up being a little bit spicier end of the race, there's definitely a lot of opportunity for strategy if the opportunity comes up.
For sure. I mean, having a little under 100 laps in this final stage when we run it, it's going to open the door to very different strategies. And we've only had 1 caution for cost tonight. If we get another one of those, that could shake things up too. But it is the final lap of the stage for Alex Murray. He has no challenge at all from behind. He's good to go through 3 and 4. He's closing in on Kevin Steele. Not sure if he's going to be able to put him a lap down and make him the lucky dog here, but no, he will not. Out of 3 and 4, Kevin Steele is going to stay on the lead lap, and Alex Murray is going to be the Stage 2 winner here at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Behind him, Bryson is pretty much locked into P2. Alexander Van de Sant, 3rd. John Delaney, 4th. Lucas Hoytsma falls back to 5th. Cameron Stone finishes in 6th for the stage. Matt Long, P7. Ralph Hutchison, 8th. Brandon Pierce, 9th. Ryan Ducombe is going to be the last driver to nab a stage point there in 10th. We're going to throw it to a short break once again and show you guys the pit stop while we give you guys a break from our constant rambling. When we come back, I'm going to have Corey Silva jump into the car during the pit stop with our stage winner. We'll get a word with him.
Assuming we're clear.
And we are back. Corey protested a little bit, but we ultimately convinced him to run and jump into the car with Alex Murray. We're going to bring him to the booth and see what he thinks about getting the Stage 2 win.
We have our Stage 2 winner, Alex Murray. Alex, you led 25 laps. You had a good battle there to end up getting the lead from Hicksonbaugh, and now we enter Stage 3, and you have a John Delaney who's surging through the field. Talk about your race and what your biggest worries are for this last stage.
I mean, it's obviously gonna get a lot tougher from here. These guys have good long run cars as well. Probably just made some adjustments to them, so we unloaded pretty good. Made a slight adjustment after stage 1, and haven't touched it since. So see what we have for them in the closing stage, but so far so good.
Yeah, we've seen so many guys getting loose, especially off of 2. Not sure if it's a shifting thing or setup, wheel spin, all that fun stuff. Have you been having any major handling problems here tonight, or has it been kind of clean and green? That car looks like it doesn't have a scratch on it.
Stage 1, we were a little free off of 2, a little free off of 4, mid a slight adjustment, and we're still a little free, but you got to be free to be fast here. So, just gonna try to keep all 4 fenders on it, all 4 tires on the ground, and keep going forward.
Yeah, that's all you can do, and this will be a pivotal win for you if you can get it. So we'll just get back to it, and good luck, my friend.
Therefore, thank you.
And he is back with his team. I don't think he sounds too worried there, Corey. He sounds pretty confident in that machine.
Yeah, he knows he has what he has, and he also knows he has a bunch of hungry tigers behind him. So you kind of have to be a realist with confidence, mix that together. It seems like he has a good head on his shoulders there. So we'll see. We do have 2 drivers. It looks like Dalton Mobley and trying to see that other driver there. Oh, Princeton. I think they're going to be getting wave arounds here. And there they go. That'll put 22 drivers on the lead lap. I think Chad Edwards was the free pass out of that deal. So only have 2 drivers currently out of the race. Tyler Pincinal and Adam Benefiel. And most everybody else still on track and only within 2 or 3 laps. So if there is any major problems in the remainder of the race, Andre, you're going to lose a ton of spots because attrition really hasn't struck here tonight.
Yeah, it's definitely upped the intensity factor because usually by this point in the race we see 5, 6, maybe even more drivers that have DNF'd or had some sort of misfortune befall them. But tonight, only 2 drivers out of the running. You could stand to gain or lose a ton of points tonight, depending on how this final stage goes. So if you were one of the drivers who did well in stage 1 and 2, it gives you a bit of a cushion. If you're Lucas Toitsma, if you're Alex Murray, you got those stage wins, you got some bonus points. Gives you a nice fallback if anything crazy were to happen in this final stage. But some of those drivers don't have that cushion. His pace car does pull off, and the field is in the hands of Alex Murray. Alex backs the inside lineup quite a bit and tries to get a pretty good jump out of the deal, and he does. Alex Van de Sant P2. Lucas Hoitzma dropping back now to 4th as Matt Long charges on the outside. We know that 97 machine is fast. It has been all night, Corey. And now look at this, trying to get a bit of a crossover down to the bottom of the 96. They're going to be door-to-door coming into 3 and 4. Who's going to get it?
And 7 has the run. He's going to be to the inside. He's not going to send it to try to clear. He's just going to run a kind of a natural line, and that's going to give the 96 the ability to fight on that outside and get the run off of 4. If he gets the run off of 4, he's going to be able to stay. We have the 12 sideways on the front straightaway, wrecking. Hicksenbaugh involved.
Oh boy.
Yeah, the 12 got dead sideways there, blocked the track, and I'm pretty sure Hicksenbaugh was an innocent bystander on that. We'll queue up the replay and try to see exactly what happened. The replay is loading on your screen right now. See some contact there with the 12, and I can't see that yellow machine. And then again, just 2 sets of contact there from Hicksenbaugh, and I couldn't quite make out the other machine. The black may have been Root, not quite positive, but either way.
RJ was involved in that. Taylor just a little bit overly aggressive on corner exit. He ping-ponged off the 38 and just caught a few cars, unfortunately. Bryson just barely tagging him. I don't see a lot of damage to the 63, but with a hit like that, you gotta imagine there's something probably a little bit worse for wear after that. We'll go on board. You can see coming out of turn 4, it's all going to kick off right in front of him. That 12 car down low. Bryson thought the 12 was going to come back up the track, but really the 12 just kind of stayed where he was. So Bryson, unfortunately, making the wrong lane choice there. A bit of damage there. This is following along with the 77 Dalton Mobley. Let's see what he... Okay, he came to a stop, actually, to avoid that wreck, and then kept going.
Tell you, RJ Root does not have a hood, but has chose to keep his vehicle on the racetrack. So interesting. And then while we're under caution, we kind of have a little bit of time to go over some, fun little iRacing news. So of course we are on, if you're watching this live, we are on week 12 heading into week 13, which is update week. If you're watching this in the future, then well, it already happened, so it doesn't really matter. But new damage model is coming out. So we're not just going to have a hood that is gone. we're going to have hoods that crinkle up, that flap, and fenders that fall off, when there is actually talk of actually having proper restart zones that are modeled and actually controlled via the sim, which we saw an interesting kind of a slow down, speed up style restart there, which kind of caused a little bit of kerfuffle, but everybody managed to get by. But all these things these guys are dealing with this week may or may not still be a factor going forth, and amongst any physics changes and all this stuff. So I don't even know where we're racing next week, Andre, or who's in the booth, or all those question marks that are in the air. But there's not really going to be a lot of practice for next week because we're waiting on that update, and that practice is going to be a lot of information to kind of figure out all at one time. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens in next week's race, but still, of course, a lot to deal with here tonight.
Yeah, those restart zones are the one thing that really caught my eye. Obviously, the way that restarts have been handled by iRacing for a very long time are not really the way that you would handle things in real life. In iRacing, as far as the simulator is concerned, as soon as the pace car touches pit road, you can get on the loud pedal, and there's nothing illegal about that if you're the leader. The restart zones will force these guys to actually wait a little bit and go at slightly more appropriate times. It kind of limits the strategy. I think iRacing gave these guys a lot of leeway. You could either go as soon as the pace car starts turning left, or you could go all the way down at the start-finish line. A lot of that's going to be removed. You're going to have to go in the restart zone, and I think that's going to give us a lot closer restarts, which, in my opinion, might make for some better racing.
I agree. A track like this, there's a couple major tracks that come to mind where you think of a Darlington where the pace car goes off really early, at Phoenix where the pace car goes off essentially a third of the way into the lap. So it does kind of give the league owners, league admin a lot of work to maintain these guys aren't kind of gaming the system to that degree. So it'll be nice to have it built into the simulator, of course, with the new damage model, and we'll see what other little tips and tricks iRacing does decide to throw in, but all that the guys will have to learn in about only 3 or 4 days time. And I do know there's going to be some physics changes as well. Those were teased a couple weeks ago, so that's why these guys are the best of the best, and they have the Coke Series teams and stuff working with them on setups. That'll all be interesting to see how it does shake out. But we are on 1 to go. Murray will be on the inside, Long to the outside. Murray had that late go on that last restart. Does he kind of keep that same trend? Does he shake it up? Well, that's what he has to figure out. We'll try to see what he does.
That is always the question when you get a caution almost immediately after a restart. Sometimes doing the same strategy twice can bite you because they expect you to go at the same time you went last time. Sometimes they're expecting you to change it up. They think, well, he went really early last time. He's not going to do that again. So it's like a slightly more complicated version of rock, paper, scissors. You just kind of have to make a guess. And if you can't do that, you got to hope you got a crew chief or a spotter up in the tower telling you the moment they see the 28 go, so that you can try and react as best you possibly can, which, again, I think that'll be eased a lot by restart zones when they're implemented. But here we go. Pace car off the track, and the 28, pretty similar to last time, backs up that inside line and then springs away from him. That's going to put the 96 machine side by side with the 97 for second place, and behind him we got Hoytsma, Stone, Delaney, Hutchison. These guys are all side by side through turn 1, scrambling for position. Hutchison and Cam, looks like Hutchison's going to get the advantage here. As for Delaney and Hoytsma in front of them, Hoytsma fighting back on that high line. Only for the time being as they go into 1 and 2. Delaney is down on that preferred bottom line, as close to that curve as you can reasonably get. And John does make it overtake. Hutchison is able to get around Cam, slot in behind Lucas Hoytsma, and we're going to go single file all the way back to P14, where RJ Root trying to make a move down to the bottom in 1 and 2. He's trying to pass Jeremy Miller and Blake Giglio. Not quite going to make it stick. A little bit squirrely out of the corner, or they stay side by side.
Very interesting to see what Root is able to do with that aerodynamically challenged number 8 machine, but so far doing a decent enough job, as we do have a battle going on between Hutchison and Hoytsma. Hoytsma did lose the spot to Hutchison. Door is now open for Stone in the 57. He's going to try to take his turn, and I he'll fall back into line, or maybe he'll take the big send. No, he'll fall back into line. I do have some back end knowledge that the fastest lap of the race actually was just run by Matt Long in the 97, not a John Delaney, not an Alex Murray, that 97. So maybe some air pressure or wedge adjustments were made by Matt Long and his team, and that 97 is trying to make a late race charge here, as is John Delaney, who has closed into the back bumper of Van de Sant, and he is trying to get into the podium spots and try to get he wants to get by as soon as he can. That way he can battle for the lead before the gap starts to grow and grow.
And it seems like 34.6 is the upper limit of what these guys can really run. Matt Long's fastest lap of the race, as he is the fast lap holder right now, was a 34.621. The leader ran a 34.636, and Jonathan Delaney ran a 34.681. That was all on the same lap, all three of those drivers. So, oh, look at that. No, actually, last time by, Alex Murray improved on his pass with a 34.636, which is about 100th off of Matt Long behind him. So these guys getting faster as this race progresses. And looking at the track temp, that makes sense, Corey. We've dropped about 8 degrees since we last checked. Track's getting a little bit quicker.
Yeah, more going into the track and lower track temp. That just gives that grip. 96 will relinquish the spot to Delaney. So Delaney kind of trying to do the major up and down day, got the pole, drove off into the proverbial sunset. Strategy put him in the back, had the damage, had to drive back up to the field, kind of akin to what Kyle Larson had to do last week at the Coca-Cola 600. Unfortunately, it didn't work out in the end, but what will happen for Delaney, well, still have near 83 laps to find out. That still will encompass one more pit stop. Whether that's a green flag stop or a yellow flag stop, obviously we do have to wait and see. But based on what we saw the first time, Andre, we're at 14 laps into the stint now. We have 80 to go, so we'd probably say 35-ish laps. I'd say maybe about 180, maybe 180 to 190. The fuel window, the tire window would open for a stop, so we'll kind of keep an eye on that. As looks like Hutchison trying to get to the inside of the 96. So those are both of our picks on the screen right now. And looks like mine is slightly getting the upper hand, but we'll see what happens in 3.
Down to the bottom of the track, Hutchison using that curb for all it's worth, and he is going to make that pass for 4th place, putting Van de Sant down to 5th. Lucas Hoitzman now also trying to follow in Ralph's tire tracks down to the bottom into 1 and 2. And he make the pass on the 96. Had to get on the brakes real aggressively there. It was a very shallow entry. Not something you really want to do with this next-gen machine, but he still makes it work. He's going to stay side by side. A little squirrely there, chasing it around. Got a little behind on the steering. That gives the 96 one more shot at life here, trying to defend. But 3 and 4, that high line does not seem to be the place to be. And Lucas is going to close in again as the 96 gets a decent run. That's actually a lot better than I was expecting out of the 96 up high. He is doing a phenomenal job clinging on to that position, but Lucas is not making it easy on him. Back down to the bottom of 1. All those bumps sliding him up. He's going to get a little sideways now. He's actually still gaining the advantage, and I think by the time they get through 3 and 4, he should have this. Behind him, you've got Cameron Stone watching this battle occur, and behind Cameron, you've got Brandon Pierce, who, I talked about him a little bit as the overtake is finally made. But, Brandon had that payload mistake earlier. He was kind of further back in the pack earlier. Now, he's up inside the top 10. A lot of the Silver Bullet machines tonight doing a fantastic job. Brandon Pierce, Cameron Stone, both inside the top 10. It's been a solid recovery for that 38 machine. Also, just want to point out, Chad Sanner has taken it behind the wall, so one more casualty among few in this race.
Exactly, that is the case. And quickly going back to our track temp, just purely visually, we can see that this entire 1.25 miles of Gateway is completely under shade, which makes sense that we have been seeing some of the fastest times that we've seen all race. And we heard Alex Murray saying he made some adjustments under the pit stop. Now, interesting to know if you made an adjustment when the track was in the sun, as the sun is trying to peek out again. You make an adjustment when the track is in the shade or the track is in the sun. You definitely don't want those clouds to come out or the clouds to come in if you made your setup changes, you know, for the opposite conditions. Definitely the weather playing some games here, and that's definitely going to affect these handlings.
I think a lot of these drivers are definitely not opposed to the shade rolling in. Cooler track temps are pretty much universally loved on the oval racing side of things, making sure you can get all the grip you can out of these machines that I've always called them bricks with wheels because that's kind of what stock cars are. These next-gen cars are a little bit more complicated mechanically, and they got a little bit more going for them, but they still handle like bricks on wheels. A little bit extra grip, that's a good thing. Regardless, it's a beautiful day here at Worldwide Technology Raceway, so let's take in the sights and sounds with the Crank It Up. And we have our 5th caution of the night. I believe our 3rd caution for cause.
Anderson and Drumhiller.
Oh man, that's a torn up race car right there. Let's take a look at the 3 TV replay, see exactly what transpired here. Coming through 3 and 4, that's the 28 Alex Murray. Right here is the gaggle of cars where this incident will occur. Keep your eye on that 11 machine. Just a little bit of contact between the 20 and the 11 sends them both up into that outside wall. And a hard hit from Randy Drumhiller right into the driver's side door for Anderson. A few cars just sneaking through, Cody Bird among them.
I don't know what Drumhiller's spotter was saying or not saying, but I think he may get called into the hauler after that one.
Yeah, that was...
that was a thing. I don't really know.
Yeah. I'm with you. We'll go on board with Randy Drumhiller, get a closer look at the thing.
You can see the smoke. You can see it. I mean, unless he just expected that, you know, obviously Gateway being a flat track, it's not like a Dover where they call it self-cleaning. Maybe he thought the wreck was going to gravitate to the lower end of the speedway, and that did not happen. But
looks like Jason Taylor, as our producer pointed out, taking no tires. That's interesting choice, just fuel only. So that'll get him out in front, but I can't imagine he's going to be able to hold off these charging cars behind that are going to have fresher tires. And man, oh man, that's going to be something.
I mean, when you make those tire decisions, like a 2-tire, no-tire stop, usually you have to have the speed to at least remotely make it a decision that, you know, is advantageous, and we haven't really seen that. I mean, we've seen top 10 speed, which is fine, but 24 lap tires or so like that on you know, top 10 speed is kind of an interesting pickle to put yourself in, but we'll see what happens. I think most of these drivers, Andre, would probably have on the realm of like 4 sets of tires in the bank, based on I think how many pit stops we've had. So maybe he's expecting a little bit of a cluster to end this race and needs those tires, or maybe he wants the track position. I guess we'll just have to find out.
Let's see. Let's actually pull Jason in real quick, just for a moment. Have a word with him before the lights go off. Jason Taylor, you got a copy?
Hello, how's it going?
Well, Jason, that was a no-tire stop. Interesting strategy. You got us kind of talking about it up in the booth. What's the battle plan?
So as I was going into pit lane, it flashed to let the 91 by, so I was panicking. So I didn't want to stop and catch a black flag just in case. So I just rolled through, and now I'm on the short end of the stick here. I'm probably gonna pull into the pits right here, get a change of tires. I'm just letting cars go by first.
All right. Interesting turn of events there. Well, we'll let you focus on that, put you back up with your team, and good luck, Jason.
Yeah, no secret strategy here.
So they're not quite the secret sauce there that we were expecting. Just the sim doing sim things, and unfortunately for him, he had to work around it. So
Yeah, that's there's Delaney doing Delaney things, and then there's Jason doing Jason things. That's Jason things.
and then there's iRacing doing iRacing things. Of course, we are living in the confines of a algorithmic race control, and although we do have in-race admins, we are on 1-2 green. There is no penalty clearing, to my knowledge, in the league, Andre. So if a black flag is issued to you, whether it makes absolutely no sense or not, you do have to honor it. So better to play it safe than sorry, as Jason did.
And I just want to point out Ryan Ducombe, he was a top 10 driver, just dropped due to connection issues. So another car behind the wall late into this event, lap 170 when we take the green here at a 240. Not going to be a whole lot of time if he were to get back into this race somehow to really make anything happen. So unfortunate end to Ryan's night. But the pace car through 3 and 4 getting ready to make what I'm sure a lot of these drivers are hoping is the final hard left turn. But we'll see. You kind of said something about maybe a cluster to end this, and yeah, I could see it happening. Here we go. Alex Murray down on the bottom, controlling the field for the 4th time, I believe now. And he waited a very long time, caught some guys off guard, and he's able to spring out front. He's got 3 teammates behind him, Ralph Hutchison, John Delaney, Matt Long, all in a row trying to make something happen. The LDR guys have finally regrouped. Jonathan Delaney is finally on the tail end of his comeback. Sights are set on the leader, still side by side with the teammate. And behind these guys, we got another side by side battle between Lucas Hoytsma and Alexander Anderson. Alex up on the high side, trying to make something happen here. He does close in on Ralph, but on the corner exit, he will lose this time. It is a scramble for positions here, Corey.
Yeah, the 54, Hutchison, I saw him have a big wiggle off of 4. I thought he was going to end up clipping the 97 in the due course, but luckily was able to control the vehicle. Delaney still fighting hard for that 2nd spot. He should be able to clear. Exactly, he does there. So Delaney into seconds, 3/4 of a second behind Murray. So how long it takes Delaney to get that lead, I guess it's what we will find out. Now it's Hutchison's turn to get underneath Long. Long has that good position, good verbiage there, to the outside of the track. He's going to give up that spot to Hutchison, but we'll put it back in line in the 4th spot.
And you saw it on screen just a moment ago. The 97 made a pretty aggressive block on the 96. Alexander Van de Sant had to get on the brakes, or at least had to lift there for the 97. And I think that's maybe something Alex is going to remember going forward if he gets back up to him. A bit aggressive. But as our producer pointed out, Alex Murray just ran the fastest lap of the race in that number 28 machine. He ran, if I can pull it up, a 34.397. So that is the first 34.3 of the night, Corey.
That's impressive. And last time by, he followed it up with a 52 to Delaney's 68, which sounds all well and dandy, but can he sustain it? Well, I do want to look back as well and show that my pick, that 54 machine, look what he's doing. He's stalking the back bumper of Delaney. Has he made some adjustments as he decided that it's go time? Well, Ralph Hutchison is definitely making a charge here, kind of not expected based on how the first segment of the race went. But another interesting note, Andre, we're at, 67 laps to go? Something on those lines. I think we went green at 70. The longest we've seen is a 60-lap run. So if this does stay green, there's a very, very interesting, fuel strategy in play for this.
Indeed it is, and going back to Ralph and maybe making some changes to the car. I'm not sure about that, but I do know he has one advantage that John doesn't, and that is a clean car. There's not a scratch on that 54, and obviously the damage isn't holding Delaney back too much. He's leading the race, or he's second place right now. right behind our leader of Alex Murray. So you know he's got some pace in it, but that damage is still going to be slowing him up regardless. And Ralph has the advantage of just having that clean car, not worrying about being parachuted by any damage screwing up the aero. So he's going to try to get around his teammate if he can. But so far, John's played some pretty good defense, and all the while Alex Murray in the lead, continuing to pull away a little bit. Also, Randy Drumhiller has officially taken it behind the wall just a moment ago after having attained substantial damage from that wreck. I don't think he was going to be able to get that thing back out on track. So another car falls, and in the meantime, these guys are still trying to sort out their second place position in this battle.
Exactly the case, and you know they want to, obviously, if you're Hutchison, you want to get that spot as fast as you can, but the last thing you want to do from a teammate perspective is fight side by side for too long, because then you're just going to create an even larger gap for Murray, and then essentially take out either of your chances to win a race. So ultimately, do you want the spot, or do you want your teammate or the team as a whole to be in victory lane? I guess kind of a balancing act there, but it looks like Hutchison is kind of stuck in that aero bubble. They're running the exact same line, and I don't really see him diving low or high at any point through the corner to get some fresh air on the nose, maybe help that 54 get a better run. He's staying right in the wake, and doing that is essentially going to make that impenetrable bubble that he's in right now, well, make it impenetrable.
Yes, sir. And Alex Murray continuing to pull away. And I'm noticing that the 97 is starting to fall back from his teammates here. Ralph and John are pretty evenly paced, but the 97 just losing a little bit of time here and there. Maybe not quite getting the setup for these cooler track temps. It has dropped another 2 degrees since we last checked. 110 now on the track surface, 90 in the air, and more shade rolling in. You pointed out the shade, Corey. We're just getting more and more of it, especially down the back straightaway. Turns 1 and 2 as well have quite a bit of it. So track continuing to change, and it's playing in some drivers' favor while maybe hindering some others. And it's something these guys are going to have to consider, because I think it's going to continue to actually drop.
4:37 virtual standard time right now, and we are dated on June 5th, which is the actual race date that the Cup will be doing as of, if you're watching this live, as of tomorrow. So obviously sunset wouldn't be till upwards of 8 o'clock, so there still is plenty of sun, but the sun is obviously on its way down, which is leading to all these long shadows and shade. But just look, and this track does have lights. Our producer Carlos asks, as as Bob Talkers tends to always get asked on Twitter. But looking at our lap times, just once again, as you can see on the top of your display, pretty much a dead heat last time by, a .338 to a .332 with a slight edge to Delaney. So a couple thousandths of a second obviously is not going to eat into a gap, but it does look like he is gaining a little bit of time. It was about 1.5 seconds, but it went down to 1.1, and now it's back to 1.5. So at least it looks like from the telemetry that Delaney's not getting to 3 and 4 nearly as well as Murray is.
Now, he is slowly chipping into it. I mean, and I mean slowly. He's got 4 thousandths on 177, and on 179 he's got 6 thousandths. The other 2 laps he's got about 9 hundredths of a second. Slowly reeling him in, but he's going to need more than that if he's going to get to him. This lead that Murray has accrued is pretty sizable. In the meantime, a little bit further back on your screen, that is the number 38, Brandon Pierce, right ahead of boss man Cam Stone. And these guys, again, having a pretty good night. SBR doing what they need to do. But Lucas Weitzma right ahead of them. Just a single file train is what we've got here, Corey. And, caution. 6th caution of the night. Oh.
Jeremy Miller, in that very exotically colored number 30 machine, is now missing a rear to his vehicle. So I'm going to assume that someone had to facilitate that. Or let's see what happens. Replay is queued up on your screen. RJ Root is in proximity of him. Actually, that was the 51. Excuse me. Jason Baker.
Might have a little help there. It was a little hard to tell from that angle, but here we go to the bumper cam. This will tell the story for sure. Coming down the straightaway into the
Oh,
corner, and
that was a big hi. How you doing?
yeah, that was more than a love tap. I'm not sure if there was history behind that, or I mean, there had to be something that happened before that. I mean, there was some passion in that right there.
Yeah. Oh my God, there was a stamp joke that it wasn't the lick the stamp joke. It was even better than that, but I can't remember it. But oh well, that will have to wait for another broadcast. But we do have a busy pit road here. It's less two drivers staying on track, Hixenbaugh and Josh Ward. Everybody else comes to the attention of their pit crews. Again, this is 56 laps to go, so right at the edge, but expected that these guys can finish it out from here on fuel.
An eventful final stage, made even more eventful by some interesting strategies playing out. We're going to throw it back to a short break, and we'll be back for the drop of the green. And we are back. Lights are out on the pace car. We're going to be going back green momentarily as we got a few cars working their way out of the pit road access. In the meantime, we've got Bryson Hixenbaugh and Josh Ward spearheading this field as they stayed out under that caution flag. Everybody else behind them came down pit road, got some tires, got some fuel. These guys said, "Nah, I don't need your tires. I don't need your fuel. We're gonna save that for later. We're just gonna see what we can do up here. It'll be interesting to see. We've seen cars stay out. Jonathan Delaney earlier in stage one with a very similar strategy and didn't quite work out for him, but the track is changing. The cars are starting to change with the different conditions, so maybe things will play out a little bit differently. We'll have to wait and see, but as the pace car comes through 3 and 4, it's going to be Josh Ward for the first time deciding when the green flag flies in that very unique looking 67 machine. Got a topographic design on there. But here we go. Bryson Hixenbaugh on the loud pedal. Actually, I think Bryson may have been the control car and just chose the outside because he went much earlier and he got a big gap to Josh Ward. Josh Ward spun the tires a little bit and they're going to go 3 wide through turn 1 and 2. Oh, man. That is not a 3-lane corner. Let me tell you that somehow they made it work. Now they go side by side for second.
Yeah, very interesting play call by Hixenbot and Ward there. But we'll see how it plays out. Murray coming to pit lane.
What on earth?
He got some kind of a black flag, maybe passing to the inside on the restart.
VandeSand in the wall.
And we're wrecking, I think. Got a cue that maybe the 96 of VandeSand hit the wall, but we do stay green. Maybe we can get that queued up on replay in just a moment.
Yeah, he's in the wall for quite a while. He was able to keep it straight, but it was Alexander VandeSand, Carlos.
Yeah, he got loose on the entry of 3 and just never really recovered, and eventually it right-hand hooked into the fence, but minimal damage, but mainly just track position lost for him. Still, replay is on our multicam right now on the top of your display. See him getting loose, thought he was going to save it, and then it just hooked.
Able to keep it going, but quite a bit of damage and a lot of time lost at a point in the race where you do not want to be losing time. Back to the live action. This is for the lead. Jonathan Delaney down to the bottom of Bryson Hixenbach. John on much fresher tires. He's going to make this move effortlessly. Should be bringing some teammates in tow as well. These guys also have fresh tires. Matt Long diving down to the bottom. Ralph Hutchison going to follow along with Matt Long if he can. Bryson doing a good job defending as best he can on those older tires, but I mean, this is inevitable, Corey. These tires are just not going to be up to snuff with these guys.
Yeah, the question is that, I mean, from what we've gathered, there shouldn't be a tire shortage. I would say at minimum 2 sets, probably closer to 3 available. So I'm trying to figure out, I mean, is he waiting on a caution? Does he know that he still has to make a pit stop and just doesn't see the point? I'm really baffled on the strategy, but again, that's why I'm not a crew chief. I'm sure there's some rhyme or reason. These guys are smart guys that know what they should be doing. So I guess it'll come together for the rest of us at the end of the race when we see how it plays out.
Well, it could just be he's trying something different too. He probably got a lot of damage from that incident earlier with the number 12 car. So he figured if I'm going to win this race, it's probably not going to be on speed alone. I'm just going to have to try something crazy with strategy. And even if there's a very low chance that it works out, it's a chance you may as well take, because what do you got to lose at that point?
Precisely that. So, and so far he's hanging on relatively decent. You know, where the field is rather spread out now. You know, maybe he could still hang on to a top 10, get a caution. You know, something may work in his favor. That is, I believe, the 67 award. Remember, he stayed out with Hixenbach. Did come to the pits, and now he is storming ahead as Hixenbach will go super high in 3 and 4, give the spot to Hoytsma. That's P5 exchange, and now Stone right to the back bumper of Hixenbach is going to take the send into turn number 1, all the way in that 3rd lane. Stone trying to work that inside all the way on the flat. Fresh tires will give him the ability to gain that spot. And now here comes Pierce, so Hixenbach is choo going to the back of the train here.
Yeah, definitely going in the wrong direction, and it looks like RJ Root is going to be next in line to try to freight train him here. Also, look at this, Kevin Steele, P10. He's the next car behind Bryson after Root. Kevin, he had a bit of a slow start to this race. He started towards the tail end of the field, kind of stayed mid-pack to the tail end. Now, all the way up to the top 10 in that 24, and this is kind of the next story, I would say, in a long saga.
51 around.
Oh no.
Off of 2, and I think he managed to save it. He did save it, but again, I think the 1,468,216th spin for the 51 machine this evening, but he's still trucking, so you got to give him credit.
I think it might have been off by just a couple with the number, but that sounds right. That sounds about right. Baker was able to get it back on the track. We didn't go under yellow, and he is getting back up to speed now, so we can kind of focus back in on some of these guys up front. I was kind of mentioning Kevin Steele there. He's had a lot of good runs lately in that 24, but none of them have come to fruition. It seems like the last few weeks, he's always up front in the top 10, having a really good night, and then something happens to take him out of it. As we are at 45 laps to go, doesn't have much further. If Kevin Steele can remain true to his nickname, Kevin Consistency Steele, he may be looking at a pretty solid top 10 tonight.
Yeah, at that point, when you're in kind of a stretch like that where you know you have a fast car, or a modestly good run on your hands, you'll be willing to give up a spot or two just to ensure that you actually can finish the race off. So right now he has a 65 with Sean O'Brien Jr. behind him. If he gets close to him, don't fight it. Just appreciate the run you have. Maybe you have an 8th place car, you finish 12th with it. But if you really need a 12th place run, just take the cards as they're given to you and just, take that momentum on to the next week.
Yeah, just got to keep your head high, and if you know you've got the car, just wait for the pieces to come together. Maybe be a little bit more cautious. If you've had a string of bad luck, sometimes you're going to put yourself in smarter situations. And I think that's what Kevin has done largely, as he is still fending off Sean O'Brien Jr. in that 65. Very bright blue machine behind him, can't miss it. But it's not a guaranteed thing here. Sean's been pretty good tonight, and it seems like he's really trying to see where he can make this overtake. I believe that's the number 12 behind him as well. He's on the lead lap in 12. That is surprising to me. Involved in that incident earlier, taking a few good hits from other cars. Seems like it's not holding him up too much.
And he had that pit road issue where he had to take the no tire stop to evade the black flag, and pitted on the subsequent lap, dropped all the way to the back, and now he is knocking on the door of the top 10, and all those top 10 spots are right in his windshield right now. So again, a good recovery for Taylor indeed. And again, RJ Root, he is to the outside now as Steele is trying to get by, but the biggest thing with Root is, again, no hood on that car, and he still basically has a close enough top 10 pace out of that thing.
Yeah, going back to my made-up word that you like so much, tanky. This car can take a hit every now and again. Sometimes you hit it just right and it seems to really impact it, but other times, man, it seems like you could just drop this car off a skyscraper and it just kind of keeps going. And that's kind of the case with RJ here.
Yeah, at least, but again, on this current damage model, which will be completely irrelevant next week, this car is either made of paper mache or it's a lead brick. It's just, there's very few in-betweens in it, in my experience. And clearly, Root has lead brick mode engaged tonight.
Yes, he does, and I don't think RJ is really any stranger to strange races. I mean, just think back to Dirt Bristol, the race that he won. There was a point in that race where we pretty much counted him out, and we were like, oh, he wrecked, he got damaged, he's done. And then all of a sudden, leader has an issue on the last lap. He capitalizes, wins the race, and I don't think anybody saw that coming. So to see RJ have that issue earlier in this race, and again, we kind of counted him out, and now here he is in the top 10. That just seems to be his forte.
Yes, it was, and unfortunately for Steele, he did lose his top 10 run, but he still is solidly in the top 15 at this point. Has enough leeway to probably still keep that solid run, as looks like Sean O'Brien looking to the inside of Root, and 65 is aerodynamically much superior, so he should gain that spot, particularly on the straightaways. But just quickly looking on our timing screen, you can see on the left side of your display, Hutchison is down by a second to Delaney, but in terms of lap times, which you can see on the top of your display, they are about even, or Hutchison is a couple thousandths here and there faster. So those LDR cars are definitely basically break even at this point. Just a matter of the long run, short run pace, which we usually give to Hutchison on long run pace. But the big question that I still have is, these guys have been out for 20 laps and we have 37 laps to go. It's right on the edge of that fuel window. Are we going to split it up? Are we going to have fuel saving? Are we really going to push these things to the absolute last possible moment? And is this thing going to go green? So a lot of things to figure out, and got to stay tuned with us to figure out the answers.
And a lot of it just guesswork. I think the drivers are just as in the dark as we are. It's been a difficult race to predict. The first two stages were so clean, and this final stage had that rash of cautions, and now seems to be back to pretty stable conditions. Nobody's really making any big mistakes. It seems like we're kind of in this green flag run for the long haul, or at least that's how it appears. So I don't know. If you're a driver, there's a lot of decisions to make, but there's really no good data to help make those decisions. You just kind of have to do whatever you think is going to work, and it'll be fun for sure. It's definitely, for the first time at Gateway for Cup, it has been pretty fascinating to see a little bit of strategy. A little hard to pass. That's kind of my takeaway from this race so far. Is just with this car and this current aero package and this track, it's been pretty difficult to pass for these guys. Which is a shame, because it seems like a lot of these guys are very evenly matched, and if we could just get a little more multi-groove, it could be fantastic.
Yeah, we've heard it in the real world. They're really trying to use their brains and come together with ideas to help the flat track programs. You know, the Phoenixes, especially where Phoenix is the most important race of the NASCAR season. We want to put on a good show there. Your Loudons and stuff like that. Maybe getting rid of the diffuser on the flat tracks, and coming up with other forms of downforce. And all these things are in question. Hopefully NASCAR is able to put 2 and 2 together and get 4 for a change. And but at least these guys are putting on the best show they can given the circumstances that we do have available. And again, Delaney doing Delaney things. The gap was just under a second, but over the course of the last lap, that has ballooned to about 1.4. So Hutchison may have used the last reserves he had on this set of tires. May just have to concede, but we'll see what does happen. Lap 206. Trying to see if there's any live battles on the track right now. Don't see anything overly close at the moment.
No, we're pretty spread out at the moment. There is a couple cars side by side. It's not for position. Josh Ward, after not taking tires on that yellow flag, he did come down under green to take tires. So he's 2 laps down. He's the first car 2 laps down. He's been racing with
RJ Root in the grass on the backstretch.
Oh boy.
All is well and no damage, no contact, just a agricultural alterations to the backstretch grass.
So Root continuing to have issues. It's a shame. I mean, still a lot of pace in that car. Just mistakes add up, and he just found himself going from the top 10 down to 18th, and we're on 208 of 240. I mean, we've got 33 laps to go in this race, and not really coming back from any big mistakes. I do want to point out a bit of a mover for tonight, though. Cody Bird in the 13 car. He's in 17th now on the lead lap. He has kind of spent the majority of this race in the low 20s in terms of position, but over this final stage, as well as part of the last stage there, he's slowly worked his way through the field. And if he keeps up this pace, he may be knocking on the door of the top 15. He's right behind Chad Edwards, which is 4 positions. So the number 4 and the 13 going at it. There's RJ right behind them as well. After his mistake, he finds himself in this 3-way battle. So we got some interesting things going on all throughout the field.
The only thing I want to say with Bird is, at least in the I've been a part of many of these broadcasts this season, and I feel like Bird has been struck by the commentator's curse more than anybody, whether it be a webcam segment or following him or something like that. So if anything happens to him, I am taking no blame for it.
And here we go. It looks like he's closing in on Chad Edwards. And excuse me while I change my camera on iRacing here. He is running the middle lane, and Chad's running about a half a lane lower through turns 1 and 2. And it seems like that is helping Cody to close the gap, but again, it's just so difficult to pass, and RJ behind Cody applying the pressure. I know Cody, and I know that right now having that 8 behind him is probably not fun, as he makes a huge send. They're going to go side by side, allowing Chad to breathe a sigh of relief here, as RJ gets loose again into the inside wall. And oh man, aside from the pace car, I'm not sure there's something RJ has not hit tonight.
But again, lead brick mode engaged, because he's still going, and he still kept this race under green flag conditions.
Yeah, we're going to stay green. I got to think that damage will finally slow him down some. That left front and left rear both are crinkled up pretty good. So we'll see what happens ahead of him. That kind of did split up the battle between Cody and Chad for 16th. Boucher currently P22 and Tanner Marty 18th behind Cody Bird. Mason Lowry is also in that little group of cars. He's 2 laps down. He's the second car 2 laps down. And that is for 24th. But a little bit of separation now. Alex Murray, after his incident, in case anybody wondered where he went after the penalty that he had to serve under green, well, he is on the lead lap still, which is honestly pretty astounding. Usually when you serve a green flag stop and go, it's almost a death sentence to go a lap down. But here he is on the lead lap in 20th. So trying to do what he can to salvage what could have been a win. And man, that's going to be what's going through his mind, Corey, is just what could have been tonight had it not been for that.
Yeah, we did have somebody in chat also on a fan of his. Is the battle 3rd, 4th, and 5th, while we talk about this, has definitely started to spice up. Van de Sant is absolutely all over the back bumper of Long in the 97. He was so good off of 4, he had to back off because there was nowhere to go with it, but he's going to take the send-it move to the bottom. He's going to go all the way on the flat. Oh, he's realized that that's not where you want to run. They're both going to meet in the middle off of 2. Down the back straightaway, the 96 will not have the run, will fall back in line, but Hoytsma is going to get the run on the 96, chose to back down. And look at the 96 with his big surges, but he couldn't go anywhere with it. That actually opened the door for Hoytsma again to the inside. This is for 4th.
See if Hoytsma can do anything with it. I'm not sure he's going to be able to stay side by side. He can't. He's going to have to fall in the line here, but that did provide a bit of separation between the 96 and the 97. Now, I have no doubt Van de Sant's going to catch back up to the 97. I think he's got the faster car for the time being, but Van de Sant is really pushing this car. When he was making those lunges down to the bottom, especially in 1 and 2, down on the flat, he was sliding at the point where he was counter-steering the car. I saw a couple times where he actually had to turn that wheel to the right to keep that thing going. And that's going to be killing the tires. We've still got about 25 laps remaining as he crosses the line. It's a long ways to go. And if you abuse your stuff now, you're going to be paying for it later.
Yes, you will. And I do want to point out, just for the sake of creating drama, because that's always fun, Hutchison has dropped back a ton. Remember, he was about a second back. Now it's magically 3.3 to 3.5 seconds. Has Delaney really just gone out and just absolute sent it and, pulled the lead? Or do we have a little bit of fuel saving going on? Because I just feel like that is a huge amount of time to lose in a very short time span.
That's a good observation. I mean, to be similar in pace and then all of a sudden you are 2 3/10 of a second slower, that's pretty extreme. That doesn't really seem like a natural course for tire wear or a consequence of tire wear. It could be that they're trying to save fuel. I don't know the exact mileage that they can go, but where that caution fell, I could see maybe a few drivers trying to save. I mean, if they know they can't get him on pace, maybe.
And these stints are 34 laps right now. We have 22 to go, so that's 56, 57. We saw the longest person go up 59 laps, I believe, is the longest we've seen, but that wasn't a driver. I want to say that was Root, if memory serves, but he hasn't had the pace that, Delaney Hutchison has. If you're a faster car, you're going to have more on throttle time. You're going to burn more fuel. So maybe 59 laps for, a top 5 driver is not in the cards. Maybe it is only 56, 57. So again, just interesting things to consider as we are, if this does go green, only have about 13 to 15 minutes of actual green flag racing left. Not a lot of time, but Hutchison's a very calculated driver. He typically, you don't just see him fall off fall off a cliff like this. Maybe he has, but I just feel like there might just be something else in the cards here. And looking at the lap times, look at Van de Sant last time by at a 36, 198, 3/10 faster than your top 2. So I think definitely there's something going on.
That sounds a whole lot like fuel saving to me, Corey.
36 flat for Van de Sant to a 36.23 for Delaney. So either Van de Sant turned on the cannons or Delaney's turned the cannons off. So take your pick.
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Yeah, this definitely has all of the signs of fuel saving here, I think, Corey. These guys are maybe a little bit concerned to make it to the end, but I'm a little. If the stint is what you said, about 54 laps from the last caution to the checkered, presuming it stays green, like you said, we had somebody stay out 59 laps, and even though that car may not have had the pace of the leaders, I can't imagine that just being a little off pace saved him that much fuel. I'm a little surprised these guys are concerned about fuel saving, but maybe they know something we don't. Either way, look at this.
Van de Sant charging for second. Yep.
On the bumper of Hutchison, and I think he's going to be able to make this move.
Yes, he is. Again, he is consistently running 3 to 4 tenths faster than even your race leader. And he is just in full send mode right now. I mean, I wish the Postal Service was as fast as he is right now with delivery times, because he's absolutely sending it. But this time by, he's going to stay in line. But you see him getting really wiggly off of 2. And typically, Andre, when you see it, when you believe fuel mode is in check, when you have a guy who's just full yeeting like he is right now, typically that means he knows he can't do anything and he's guaranteed to pit. So again, all these dynamics, we have no way to know for sure. Maybe we can get it on board in a little bit and see if anybody's slowing up a little bit more than we would expect, but this is all pure speculation. We could be very well wrong, and I guess it would be kind of entertaining if we were, but definitely seems to be the case. We do have an onboard with Hutchison. Maybe we can hear his onboard, his acceleration RPMs. Maybe we can see if he's in fuel save mode.
In the meantime, you've got Van de Sant trying desperately to make this pass, and despite having the faster car, again, it's, oh boy, bit of a bump from Van de Sant to the 54. I think he's letting him know, hey buddy, I'm here. You remember me? Because I'm looking to make this pass. That was quite aggressive, but still wasn't quite able to get the 54 out of line or really move him up the track in any useful way. He's just kind of staying in line. And the longer he battles with Hutchison, the more Delaney's able to get out and away to a big lead. And these laps are winding down. 2:24, 25 when the leader crosses the line momentarily, out of 2:40. So we've got 16 laps remaining, and I mean, if Van de Sant's stuck behind him, he may lose a chance to catch up to the leader.
Yeah. So we've just had a couple onboard laps with both Van de Sant and Hutchison, and I can say that Hutchison, I don't think he's in major fuel save mode, but he's definitely running lower RPMs across the board and doing some short shifting or not shifting as frequently. Van de Sant is 9,500 RPMs in 4th and then switching up to 5th and still hitting the chip at the end of the straight. So definitely a lot more aggressive driving, as here he comes with a look to the inside entering 3. And I don't think Hutchison's going to fight too hard. He's not at all. We'll see maybe if there's a crossover off of 4. But no, he's going to absolutely just stalk the back bumper. I think there was an occurrence between the two of them earlier. We'll see maybe, and if Hutchison finishes on the podium, I'd be interested to see if he has anything to say in interview, but still a little bit of ways before we can get to that point. But for nearly 5 seconds that these guys will find themselves behind your race leader, John Delaney. Lap time's about a 36.3. I'll be interested to see what Van de Sant runs once he gets a clean lap in.
Yeah, now that he's out of traffic, I think he may close into the leader, but again, time not on his side. Let's check and see as he crosses the start-finish line. His lap time is going to be a 36.2. It's actually 3 tenths faster than the laps he was turning when he was behind Ralph. He closes in by about a tenth to Delaney. As Delaney up front, he ran a 36.3. So a little bit quicker, but it's not going to be enough unless something were to happen to John. So trying to do what he can to reel him in, but he just lost a lot of time behind Ralph.
Yeah, we'll see. This is the first clean lap that he's had in quite some time. So Delaney crosses the stripe, and he will have a 36.33 to a 36.17. So again, another 2 tenths. That's not going to make the difference, but definitely shows that the 96 does have the pace, as there's 13 laps to go. We did have RJ Root come to pit road just a few laps ago. It looks like he has retired from the race from it. So he'll add to the attrition of about 7 guys who have pulled off of the race early tonight.
It's a shame his race ended like that. He just had a very, very eventful night. Very unfortunate. The car just was not handling the way he wanted it to. I mean, sometimes you can just tell that a driver is not meshing with the setup, and it's not anything to do with the driver themselves. Sometimes it's just every driver has a particular way they like the car to handle, and when it's not right, you can tell. And he was just kind of struggling with the car, and it's a shame because RJ is a very talented driver, and just despite having an ill-handling car, he was still running in the top 10, really showing why he's in this league. Incredibly talented, but unfortunately, Gateway was not kind to him, and I'd say that fourth or fifth incident was the tipping point. He said, all right, I had enough fun for tonight. Alex Van de Sant continuing to close in. It's 5 seconds flat now as he gains another 10th on our leader. Like you said, Corey, not going to make up the difference. We've got 10 and a half laps to go as our leader's on the backstretch here. And so the question arises, is fuel a concern? Because I feel like John, he may have been saving, he may have been concerned. But if he was before, I don't think he is now, because Alex is only closing in by about a 10th or so per lap. And when we first started paying attention to Van de Sant's pace, he was closing in by 4 and 5/10 per lap. As Van de Sant actually gets into the outside wall, safer barrier, at a turn 4. That's going to cost him a little bit of time. Gap to the leader actually increases for the first time in about 15, well, no, not 15, because he was behind Ralph. For the first time in about 5 or 6 laps. It's now 5.2, so John, as long as his fuel situation is good, really should just have this thing in the bag if he can hit his marks.
Yeah, I guess it all depends how close you are. I mean, for all we know, it's not a concern at all, and we're just, making drama up for the sake of making drama. But typically, if you know you're not going to make it, you'll see guys come in, maybe take 2 tires with 10, 12 to go and try to just use that time to your advantage if you know for a fact you can't make it. If you're on the bubble, of course, you're going to make that decision of, do I chance it, do I not? But we know for a fact that it's going to be relatively close based on what we saw on the first caution, or rather on the first green flag stop. But, maybe something that I'm also ignoring. Maybe Root, he pitted on lap 59. Maybe he could have gone 10 more laps and he just got sick of it. I mean, we don't know. All we can do is wait and see, but we only have 9 laps left to figure it out. And we may have a battle going on or shaping up for 4th right now. Brandon Pierce definitely is making some headway into the gap that Matt Long has, and Cam Stone just behind that. That's 4th, 5th, and 6th under a blanket all for position right now.
Yeah, Brandon Pierce has had a really good night tonight. Even despite the pit road incident and kind of a slow start, I would say he has just been gradually getting better. And to get all the way up to the top 5, now battling for 4th, this is a pretty good night for that 38. He needs it too. He missed last week, had a fill-in driver. So sometimes, when you come in from being away from a while, you come back from a hiatus, you're a little bit rusty, but Brandon is showing us now that he is not rusty. He hopped right back in that car, and he is right on. So can't give a big enough shout out to him and, of course, his team, SBR. But according to our producer, he pointed out, if you look at the scoring and timing, John Delaney is now pulling away from Van de Sant. Now, I'm not sure if Van de Sant got a little bit of damage from when he got up into that outside wall that I pointed out. He's been getting a little bit sideways, really pushing that car ever since that happened, and it's costing him some time. So I think, number 1, John is no longer in fuel-saving mode, and number 2, a little bit of damage to that 96.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So there must have been some fuel saving going on, because there were a stretch of about 5-6 laps that Van de Sant was, almost a half second faster, and obviously that has disintegrated. So now he's running slower, has that damage, and probably has some overly abused Goodyear Eagles. But still, for his first run in the series, to whether it's a 2nd or a 3rd or what have you, if he can keep a top 5 run, that's just absolutely phenomenal given the talent in this series. But yeah, John Delaney just essentially on cruise control now. If there is any slight concern of fuel, just run 75%. You have enough of a buffer that there's really no excuse or reason to go 100%. Just all you got to do is run 75, maybe even 70% when you have a 5-second gap, and just chug these remaining what'll be 4 laps to go out.
Yeah, just hit your marks. Take it easy if you can. Save the equipment. Make sure you don't make any dumb mistakes. John Delaney, he's come a long way as a driver. From the driver that we saw a couple seasons ago to the driver now, it's almost a completely different show that he puts on, and a different style of driving. And making big mistakes is not really his forte at this point. I think when you see him out here with a 6-second lead, he knows as well as we do that it's just time to take it easy, hit your marks, win the race, bring it home. Van de Sant, again, just kind of pushing that car behind him, constantly over driving, which is just using up his equipment, making things easier on Delaney. So he's got some lap traffic ahead of him. That'll kind of shake things up a bit, but it shouldn't be too difficult for him to work their way around. He's got former teammate Mason Lowry in front of him, as well as a few other cars there, but smooth sailing. So right now for John, as he actually gets a little bit sideways at a turn 2.
Yeah, he was running all the way in the gray, that kind of that access exit area on the back straightaway, which luckily they paved in real life. We still don't have that on iRacing, so you don't want to run out there. That's a very embarrassing way to hit the wall. Luckily, that was not such the case, but we're going to come to 2 to go, and most important thing for Delaney is to take the white. Remember, if the white flag comes out, the race is over, and it's not. Caution flag. Kevin Steele.
Oh, man.
Commentator's curse. Boom. We'll see what happened. Carlos will cue up the replay. Classic turn 2 spin. I will cue it up on replay, and Hitzenbaugh definitely his night went from bad to worse.
That was a strange I mean, the way that it just turned right, it almost looked like a shifting issue. Like he got on the gearbox and it just shot around. Let's take another look at it. Coming out of turn 4. I guess it's just a little bit squirrely, and he overcorrected is what happened there. Then his team owner, Bryson Nixonbaugh, just clobbering him there.
Let's see what happens as Delaney catches the pace car. I mean, you have to pit, but does anybody take 2? We have, I think, 3 chances at a green-white checker, I want to say. Cue me on the stats on that, but someone's got to do something. It's almost a foregone conclusion. Somebody's going to try something here.
Oh, yeah, you have to pit. Also, I don't know how close John was to the line when this caution came out. To me, it looked like he was past the line. And I kind of feel like there may be some simulator... I don't know. I don't know a nice way to put it.
Gauge Ryan Blaney mode.
Yeah, there might be some problems with the way the simulator calculated that. That's the best way I can put it without profanity, because I feel like John was across the line, or at least close enough. But the simulator has decided, no, we're gonna rack him and stack him. We're going racing again, like you said, Corey. Ryan Blaney mode engaged.
Hutchison overshot his pit stall here. He hit the reverse pedal.
Oh boy.
And Cody Bird stayed on the racetrack.
Cody. Oh boy.
57 lap old Goodyears.
But you know what, Corey? They only need to make it 2 more laps.
Now, there's a very famous, it's so famous that I don't even remember anything about it, but there's a thing that they say, old tires are fine until you have to turn. So he might be able to get going, but there's that little thing called turn 1, and I am really nervous about what's going to happen when he gets there.
Well, he's probably hoping that maybe something happens behind him. And then a caution comes out again. I mean, we get 3 attempts at a green-white checker. Theoretically, Corey, he could never have to turn on these old tires and still win.
I mean, if he gets 3 green-white checkers and ends the race because we have 3 wrecks that all happened before turn 1 in a row, he needs to go drop what he's doing and buy a scratch ticket, because that is life-changing luck right there. But I think we're all realists to know that that's probably not going to happen.
I
disagree that he should go and buy a lottery ticket, because I feel like if that did happen, he would have used up all of his luck for the rest of time ever.
Touche.
My mic is hot. This used to be a really viable strategy back when iRacing didn't have green-white checkers and races could end under caution. There'd be many times where, in a situation like this, somebody would just decide, hey, I'm going to stay out because I know these guys and they're going to wreck before I even reach turn 1. And, I've seen it happen many times.
I've won quite a few official races in the pre-green white checker era doing just that. Or maybe I had a 15th place car and, you know, maybe I could still finish 5th. You know, it's very well possible, but not in this 3 attempt method. If there was only one, you know, that's a different ball game, but he's going to be the control car. He's going to have wheel spin. How does Delaney react to it? How does Van de Sande act with it? Van de Sande has fresh tires now. He has short run pace. I think he can handle Delaney on a 2-lap stint, and we know how aggressive he is on his corner entries.
All right. Hold on. Let's rewind a bit. I resent this statement that you think that Cody Traction Control Bird could possibly have wheel spin on 56 lap old tires.
Traction Control Bird.
It's totally his nickname. We've called him that for years. I didn't just make that up on the fly.
Well,
He's not going to spin those tires. He'll be fine.
Well, we'll see if Traction Control Bird is the word.
Oh, God.
That's only the second part of the race. You got to give me credit on that. I've been doing pretty good. But more importantly, we are on 1 to go. They are getting racked and stacked for what could be the final restart. If you're Bird, you maybe hope it is, maybe hope it isn't. But you know, we got a bunch of hungry drivers on some fresh tires, and we're getting ready to end in overtime the Asymmetric 500K, I believe this race is called, as we'll wait for the iRacing pace car to take its abrupt turn down into the into the pit road here. When does Bird get on the loud pedal, and when does he get that wheel spin? No, traction control is engaged, green flag in the air, and he gets a huge jump. But what happens when he turns?
Well, we're about to find out. He has to back up the corner entry, and Matt Long sends it. He's going to wreck into the outside wall hard. 3 wide in front of him for the lead. Ralph Hutchinson on the outside. John Delaney in the bottom. Cody Bird hitting Cameron Stone.
No.
Everybody is wrecking everywhere. The race stays green so far.
Barty threw the flag away.
Who has the lead? Jonathan Delaney. Alex Van de Sande about 2 car lengths behind him.
Are we going to make it? Are we going to make it this time? We still have 1 more corner to wreck.
Let's see if we can make it to the white flag. Jonathan Delaney is there. White flag flies. We are 2 wide for second. Look at the 07, Lucas Hoitzma making a move on Van de Sande. They are both closing the gap to Jonathan Delaney, but as they come out of the corner, John turns on the rockets. He's going to have a 2-car length advantage over these drivers battling for second. Do either of these drivers try to send it? Do they try to make something happen? No, not yet. 07 trying to claim second place through the final corners. A little bit of contact between Hoitzma and Van de Sande. It looks like Hoitzma is going to get second, but the winner for the first time here at Gateway is going to be John Delaney after what proves to be one of the most insane green-white checkers I think I've seen in league history.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of overstated something that happened there, that Matt Long just completely forgot where the brake pedal was and just went straight to the fence, but he had the position to drive away with this, but again, he forgot where the brake pedal was and went straight, and that opened the door for Delaney, and I don't know how the caution did not come out down the backstretch, but for John Delaney, he is quite grateful that it didn't, and he will take what I believe to be his 6th win in this, what are we on, race 15?
That's
so
his 7th win, actually.
Batting, 7th win, so I was going to say he's batting 333, but now he's batting higher than that, and I don't know that math off the top of my head, but he's going to go burn it down on the front straightaway.
So the final race results as John burns it to the ground. We're going to try to pull these up, and we will run through them quickly. John Delaney brings home the win for what I believe is the 7th time this year. Lucas Hoitzma, P2. Alex Van de Sande, in his league debut, brings it home on the podium. Brandon Pierce, all the way up to 4th. What a night for that 38 machine. Ralph Hutchison, P5. Blake Giglio, 6th place. Jason Taylor, 7th. Alex Murray, P8. Sean, look at that, Alex Murray. It took me a second, but man, after that black flag, serving it under green with the help of that caution, all the way back inside the top 10. What a night for Murray. Sean O'Brien Jr., P9, and Matt Long, after sailing it into turn 1 and then the outside wall, brings it home P10, Corey.
Yep, and 11th, Alex Princeton. He had an up and down day. Dalton Mobley, a quiet run in the 12th spot. Chad Edwards in 13th. Bryson Hicksabaugh had the speed, but hit everything but the pace car and ended up finishing 14th. Jason Baker, basically the spin out award of the race goes to him. Tanner Marty in 16th. Cody Bird with that interesting pit call. He ended up finishing 17th. Cam Stone in 18th. Kevin Steele had a phenomenal top 10 run most of the race. It went sour at the end for 19th, and Patrick Mouchet in the 20th spot.
And looking back from P20, if the graphic scrolls here, we have Mason Lowry, Jeremy Miller, Raymond Root, Robert Anderson, Josh Ward, Ryan Ducombe, Randy Drumhiller, Chad Sanner, P28 for 4Wide Motorsports. And I believe that is going to round out the field. No, we've still got Tyler Pinsino and Adam Benefiel, who, again, I'm not exactly sure why Adam took it behind the wall early into this event, but he's going to bring it home in P30. Now it is time for some interviews. First up, third place, Alex Van de Sant. See if I can't catch up with him, if he's in a Discord. Let's see.
I didn't see him earlier.
Yeah, I'm not seeing him. Give us one moment.
Oh, nope. No, he is here. I'll pull him to grab him down. All right, here we are.
Alex Van de Sant, you got a copy?
I do.
Well, Alex, it's been a while since we've seen you race in the iRock series, and now you make your 100% Cup Series debut, and you do it in style on the podium for your first race. How's it feel, man?
That was awesome. That was such a fun race. We had a rocket ship tonight, especially once we had that long run. Wish I took care of the car a bit better. Didn't make those mistakes on the restart for that last long run, and would have been a bit closer to John. But in the end, I was able to hold out. And yeah, podium on debut is like way beyond any goals I had set for myself. So yeah, really, really good start.
So, Alex, obviously you're a bit more of a road racer. That's kind of where you come from, and stock car racing, from what I hear, is a bit on the unfamiliar side to you. What are your takeaways after tonight's event?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's unfamiliar. I've got experience from leagues, mostly fixed setup stuff though, and then some official races here and there. But the big change is from an IndyCar. I've all of my iRating, all of my experience comes from the IndyCar and stuff. So it's a very different experience driving any stock car, especially the Gen 7. So yeah, just a lot of momentum to build from, a lot of things to learn here. Tonight it was all about throttle control and braking, which I hadn't done much of, honestly. So yeah, learned a ton tonight. And yeah, just hoping to get some more knowledge about the car and the setups and stuff. So yeah, looking forward to more of these.
Now, is there any tracks coming up on the schedule in particular that you're looking forward to that maybe you feel like really well and you might have a really good shot at?
Well, there's Sonoma coming up, of course. So that's going to be fun. And then Nashville. That's a fun track in this car. I've done fixed races in it, so yeah, hopefully that translates well to open setup competition.
All right. Well, Alex, congratulations on the podium. We're glad to have you here in 100% Cup. Is there anybody that you'd like to shout out or thank?
Yeah, big thanks to everybody in Silver Bullet Racing, bringing me on, and just getting me up to speed with the league and stuff, as well as Triad, they're providing our setups, and Jeffrey Souza doing that. As I said, it was a fantastic car. We were easily the fastest, or like top 3 fastest in the long run. So yeah, really good there.
All right. Well, congratulations again. We're going to let you go celebrate.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
P3 out of the booth, and now Corey is caught up with second place, Lucas Hoitzma.
All right, Lucas, yeah, had a great run here. You led a bunch of laps, mainly in the first stage, and especially after Delaney kind of had his issues. And once he worked through the field, you kind of had a top 5 car most of the run, and through the last couple lap shenanigans there, got yourself on the second spot on the podium. Kind of talk about your race a little bit, the whole fight from start to finish.
Well, since the beginning, battling kind of, like you said, top 5 car, it's definitely had some good speed, but I don't think I really had anything for John. The track kind of moved into a place where it just wasn't driving right. I was way too loose on exit, but we tried to tighten it up, and it got the job done. It was really good on short runs, and luckily we got that yellow and a little bit of luck with the wreck and managed to get second. That's way better than I was expecting, so definitely a good day.
Yeah, most certainly. And just kind of talk about your overall driving style. I think we watched a bunch of onboards, and we saw about 12 different ways to drive this place. Whether you went into fifth, whether you went down to third, whether you stayed in fourth. How much throttle control, how much wheel spin you got off of two. What was the biggest challenge, if any, that your car kind of presented to you? And if it's not top secret, how are you getting around this place so good?
Generally we were in fourth gear, 3 and 4, but we were mainly using third and 1 and 2, kind of switching third and fourth, shifting down the straightaways. And the more shifting you do, the looser it'll be and the more it'll burn the tires. So kind of got to manage that throughout the run. Maybe shift down to third a few times, stay in fourth, save the rear, cool it down. But mostly I was just trying to save the tires, save the car, because I see a lot of guys getting in the wall, getting some front end damage, and it really destroys their car. And I just didn't want that to happen, because that can ruin any chance you got.
Yeah, and you did a pretty good job keeping that thing. One more quick question. Next week we head to Sonoma, one of the more technical road courses on the schedule, and one that most everybody knows. And we're going to the chute configuration. Haven't been there in a few years. What are your thoughts headed towards the wine country next week?
Generally, I like to say I'm pretty confident on road courses, but Sonoma is definitely an exception. It's going to be rough for me. I don't like a bunch of elevation changes. It's tough for me to see the corner coming up, but I'm going to try my best. Hopefully I can get some practice in this week, and I'd say I'm pretty excited for Sonoma, especially the chute configuration, like you said. It's a good one.
All right, so we'll see you then. Any shout-outs, thanks you want to give?
Shout out to LMM, CTC, teammates helping me every week, Low Drag Esports, and yeah, that's about it.
All right, well, we'll let you go, man. Congrats on the podium, and good luck next week.
Thanks, sir. See ya.
And now Andre has caught up with whether 6 or 7-time winner this season. We'll fight about that, but John Delaney.
John Delaney, you got a copy?
I do, Andre.
Well, John, sometimes your wins aren't all that interesting. Sometimes you just get out and you run away with it. But this one was pretty fascinating. You had a fast car from the jump, and you got into the outside wall, got a lot of damage, and it looked like it was slowing you down quite a bit. But every time you came down pit road, it was like you got more and more fixed. And by the end of the race, you had a car good enough to kind of carve through the field, and you did everything you needed to do. But then, as you were crossing the line, Ryan Blaney mode engaged, caution comes out, we got a green-white checkered. Just walk me through your night in general, man. It was crazy.
Oh yeah, I mean, as you said, it was definitely an up and down night for sure. We started on pole, had a caution like on lap 25. We decided, hey, we're gonna stay out and save a set. Then, in the midst of all the fresh tires past me, I was kind of stuck up on the outside, off at 2, where all the marbles and there was just no grip. And at that point in the run, 30, 40 laps on your tires, you have no rear grip. So I kind of gassed a little too hard and really got the wall really good off of 4, or off of 2, I'm sorry. Got like 40 seconds of damage. And pretty much from then on, I was like, I'm just gonna chill in the back, just hopefully slowly carve my way up through the field. And we were able to do that. In the midst of doing that, though, I did hit the wall 2 more times. And I got another 30 seconds of damage, but we were able to come down and fix majority of our damage. I believe at the end I still had another 20 seconds of damage to fix, but yeah, our damage definitely was keeping us back on the straightaways. We definitely weren't as quick as we probably should have been, but the car was just really good after 20-30 laps, so we were just really hoping for those long runs. Alex was really good the first 20, and then you would kind of cliff or plateau around 25-30, and that's when we kind of gain on him. So I was really hoping it would stay green to the end there and kind of see what planned out, and see if I would have had a chance at him. But that restart there, he got a black flag, and that was kind of the end of the race for me, or for him, and I was able just to keep the clean track and stay out front.
So that final restart, you have Cody Bird starting alongside you. He's the control car. He's on tires that are about 56 laps old. You've got teammates behind you that are also on fresh tires, and it was kind of a scramble. Matt Long, he dove it into turn one a little bit too deep, found himself in the outside wall, and then chaos erupts in your mirror behind you. I don't know how much you saw of that, but what was going through your mind in that restart? Were you worried about it, or were you thinking, there's no way I'm going to lose this? I'm going to get around him and I'm going to get this?
Oh, I was terrified. Cody being on, oh my goodness, probably 60 lap tires at the time. I was afraid he was going to spin the tires and just clean and junk the entire front half of the field. So that was, I got to give Cody credit though. He did a fantastic job at he got a really good restart actually. So I got to give him credit for that. But I was also worried about passing him. I can't pass him since he started on the top line. I wouldn't be able to pass him before the start finish line, or else I would have gotten a black flag. So that was another thing I was looking out for. But I just go down into turn one, and I see Matt to my outside. He just completely dives it in. I'm like, oh man, did I underdrive turn one? And then I saw him slide up and hit the wall. I'm like, okay, I think we're all right. But if he would have stuck it on the outside and kind of just got like a normal run, he probably would have won the race, because I got stuck there on the bottom, and the bottom really is just isn't a place you want to be. So. But well, I'm kind of lucky that Matt dove it in a little too deep, or else I think he probably would be the one talking to you guys right now.
All right. Well, again, congratulations on the win. It was a very hard-fought win and definitely well earned. Is there anybody you'd like to shout out or thank?
Oh yeah. Everyone at Lockdown Racing, all our sponsors: Sparko, Dude Wipes, MPI, McConey Setup Shop, Deathwish Coffee. All of our sponsors. Got to thank all of them. Thank you guys up in the booth for broadcasting this. The admins, Kevin Steele, Morris, them two admins do a great job for this league. It's always a blast to run here Saturday nights and just enjoy it. Got to give a shout out to everyone who raced tonight. It was a fun one. Definitely not the funnest one of the year, but it was definitely a fun one for sure. So yeah, I got to give a shout out to Logan Sheets being on the box tonight, just helping with strategy and just pit adjustments. So I got a shout out to the family as well, everyone watching at home. Thanks for watching. That's all I have for you guys.
All right. Again, congratulations, John. We'll let you go up and celebrate in the after party there, and talk to you next week.
Yep. See, I won't be here next week. So, sadly.
Well, then we will not talk to you next week.
Yeah.
All right. Later, John.
See you guys.
First place out of the booth, and actually going to miss next week. So I think he can afford to miss a race or two with those points, Corey.
I think he's going Dustin Hall mode. Kind of, whether it's personal or not, when you have that many wins, you can kind of pick and choose. And as long as you fulfill the participation requires, which he has, he has that power, and that's what you get when you have between 6 or 7 wins on the season.
Yeah. Well, that is going to do it for our post-race coverage here on 3Wide TV and the 100% Cup Series. Again, I've been Andre Graham Bush, joined alongside Corey Silva and Carlos Acosta, pushing the buttons, bringing all the action to your TVs and computers. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going road course racing again, I believe, next week. So that'll be very interesting, and I believe it's broadcast. So, if I'm wrong, then don't tune in. But if it is broadcast, tune in right here on 3Wide TV for all of the left and right hand turns. We will catch you next time.